All right. Agenda for me.
We'll just set up the salary.
Taking my
Separate one, an hour before or whatever.
Okay. We are back live on YouTube. We'd like to call the meeting back into session, please. Mr. Allman, would you mind getting the door? Since we're back in. Thank you. So you have reading of communications. And did you need to bring anything else up under your report? Well, before the reading of communications, there was a document that came in this morning quite late asking for a letter of support. And it is one that is incredibly relevant and important that we support our partners with the Glens Falls Hospital. I'm going to ask that our county administrator please bring that to your attention. It is time sensitive.
Yeah, this literally just came in from Ray Agnew over at the hospital, and they're requesting support letters from elected officials on an application to a statewide healthcare facility transformation 3 grant. Let me read to you briefly what this is. So the RFA, it's the 3rd round of funding to provide grants in support of capital projects, debt retirement, working capital, or other non-capital projects that facilitate healthcare transformation activities. Here's some brief project summary for what Glens Falls Hospital would like to do with these funds. Glens Falls Hospital is requesting up to $6.7 million for the purpose of debt relief as part of an overall strategy for long-term financial sustainability. Currently, the hospital is not able to take on additional debt to support capital needs beyond immediate critical needs, such as essential facility or patient safety related investments. Debt relief will ensure there is adequate cash flow to apply to new capital expenditures to stay current in technology, to improve infrastructure, and for service enhancements to improve access to and experience of care for our community. Debt relief is one piece of a larger strategy for long-term sustainability. As the newest member of the Albany Med Health System, Glens Falls Hospital continues to work towards system alignment, including the development of a new strategic plan, while simultaneously managing through the COVID-19 pandemic and responding to the new and evolving needs of our community post-pandemic. Debt relief will assist us in preserving essential healthcare services in the region, while also allowing the organization to pursue strategic initiatives to strengthen our financial position. So again, this is a request for a letter in support from elected officials. I'd be happy to send this to you individually as supervisors if you would like to submit letters from yourselves individually. And the remaining question would be if we want to submit an official letter from the county to identify the individual who would execute that letter and authorize that individual to do so.
If that's the will of the board, we can certainly put that on to discussion at the appropriate time during the discussion of resolutions to come off the floor. Just without taking a vote, is there anyone that strongly objects to that? Would the consensus be to move forward and put that on for discussion? Great, thank you. At this point in time, thank you, County Administrator. 528, yes.
Yeah. There's also, we have a need for a small amendment to Resolution 528, if you wouldn't mind, just for a moment. In the title of the resolution, authorizing the county administrator and the county attorney to draft, we'd like to insert "and the chair of the Board of Supervisors to execute" a letter in support of Art and Minds, et cetera, et cetera. So that clause, "and the chair of the Board of Supervisors to execute," amended into the title and amended into the first resolve paragraph in the same spot.
I have a motion to get that on the floor, please. The motion is made by Supervisor Leggett, seconded by Supervisor Beatty. Any discussion? Supervisor Conover?
Yeah, just a point of reference that I certainly don't have any issue with the resolution. However, I wasn't at the committee meeting where it was discussed. I think it's important that it not be confused with any modification of our county's position relative to the railroad corridor. and our support of the state's application for abandonment up north. In other words, I think that we certainly don't have any problem supporting an employer. I certainly don't have any problem with all that, but I think we don't want to miscommunicate our adopted position
Right.
relative to the corridor and our adopted position relative to the state's application for abandonment. So
Supervisor Conover, I don't think this particular part of the discussion is germane to the amendment that we're requesting right now. All we're doing to look is to mirror the language of the previous resolution where it does allow the chair to execute a letter of support. We can debate the letter of support during the appropriate time. But right now, the only issue is that only the county administrator would be able to sign it. Of course, we're a legislative body, and in order to provide the support, you will need an elected official to sign that letter. That's what
Well,
we're asking for.
I can discuss it during resolution.
Yes,
if
sir.
you like.
You may. Great, thank you. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Please consider that amended for 528.
Chairwoman, I need that to reflect that I recused.
Thank you Supervisor Hogan. I'm sorry I didn't see that on there. The one. Thank you. Okay, at this point in time, I would ask our clerk to please do the reading of communications.
Warren County Probation Department monthly reports of criminal and family workloads for the months of September and October 2021. Adirondack North Country Association's 2020 annual report. EDC Warren County 2020 accomplishments and projects. LDC 2020 activities report. Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corp financial reports dated August 31, 2021 and September 30, 2021. A letter from the New York State Department of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation informing that the Mountainside Free Library in Queensbury has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places effective November 8. Notice of public hearing from Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth regarding the KDBF Ventures LLC project. That public hearing is to be held on December 20th. At 3:45 p.m. via Zoom. Town of Queensbury notice of public hearing regarding a proposed local law which would amend the Indian Ridge Planned Unit Development to change the permitted use design of one parcel. That public hearing will be held on December 20th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Queensbury Activities Center. And the notice of public hearing from the Town of Queensbury regarding a local law which would amend Chapter 179 zoning of the Queensbury Town Code. That public hearing is also to be held on December 20th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Queensbury Activities Center.
Thank you. At this point in time, I would like to open public comment on our proposed resolution to anyone that is here today. This is your opportunity to please provide us with any comments about the resolutions that are here before us to consider today. Is there anyone that would like to be heard? Hearing none, I'd like to open discussion for the reading of the resolutions. I'm sorry. I also need to step back to clarify on the record that there was no action taken during executive session. I apologize for that oversight. And I also would like to have the clerk read the reading of the resolutions.
Resolution number 522 through 622 were distributed to the board and posted to the Warren County website on Tuesday, December 14th, which met the deadline specified in the rules of the board. With regard to resolution number 594 from the Finance Committee, that one was authorizing the appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated surplus to the planning budget to cover the cost of the contract with New York State Office of Information Technology Services. They were going to be purchasing some information or some data. So the problem is if we give them the $86,000 now, they have to get a purchase order in order to encumber those funds and use them in 2022. So in order to get a purchase order, you have to get a signed contract from the state, and it's not likely that's going to happen by the end of this year. So they've requested to withdraw this resolution, and they'll bring it back in January. It will come to you. I'm not sure whether it's going to be the organization meeting or the January board meeting, but you'll see it on one of those. We just would like to withdraw 594. Yes.
May I have a motion to withdraw 594? The motion's made by Supervisor Thomas, seconded by Supervisor Beatty. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Supervisor Hogan opposed? Oh, in favor. Okay, thank you.
So next, there are the 5 floor resolutions, which are included in your packet, and Ryan touched upon those. So you need the motion to waive, then the motion to bring to the floor. So they're
Okay. Can I have a motion to waive the rules regarding floor resolution number 1? That motion is made by Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Leggett?
Oh, no, no, sorry.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
That'll now be resolution number 623.
At this point in time, I would like a motion to bring floor resolution number 2 to the floor. That motion is made by Supervisor McGowan, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And all Warren County purchasing and procurement policy actions were appropriately taken for this.
It's my understanding, Supervisor Leggett, that yes, they were, but I will ask that our county administrator please confirm that for you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
I'm sorry,
Opposed.
you're opposed? Please note Supervisor McDevitt's opposed. That motion carries. Thank you.
That's now resolution 624.
Could I please have a motion to waive the rules regarding budget amendment for floor resolution number 3? That motion is made by Supervisor Bramer, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
That's now resolution number 625.
At this point in time, I need a floor resolution to bring, a motion to bring floor resolution number 4 to the floor. This would be the budget amendment. That motion is made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Smith. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Thank you.
That's now resolution 626.
I'll need a motion to bring floor resolution number 5 to the floor. This is making supplemental appropriations. That motion is made by Supervisor Scheffler, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. All those, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
That's now resolution 627. Now you'll need a motion to waive the rules regarding the letter of support.
At this point in time, I'm asking for a motion to waive the rules for the letter of the support for the Glens Falls Hospital. May I have a motion to waive the rules? That motion is made by Supervisor Bruno, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
That'll be resolution 628.
At this point in time, I'll need a motion for a letter of support for the Glens Falls Hospital. Authorize the chair to sign this. The motion's made by Supervisor Diamond, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
That will be resolution 629. And then we have the matter of the solar.
Our last resolution that we'll be asking to waive the rules for will be for the discussion of the solar. And I am going to ask at this point in time that our county attorney, once this motion to waive the rules is done, that you could please frame this motion the way you would like it to read for the resolution. I have a motion to waive the rules, please. That is made by Supervisor Bruno, seconded by Supervisor Garrity. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'm sorry I missed discussion on that.
That'll be resolution
6:30. And if you would help me here, County Attorney Elman, I'll need a motion to approve a resolution that would say,
providing the county attorney the authority to issue a letter to CVE North America stating the county's intent to pursue a contract between the county and CVE for payments in lieu of taxes in connection with the solar energy system located off Quaker Ridge Boulevard.
the motion is made by Supervisor Bramer, seconded by Supervisor Bruno. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Wild.
It's a motion to allow Larry to come to an agreement with that. Doesn't that still have to be approved by the full board?
Supervisor Wildoss, County Attorney Elman, to address your question.
It's a motion to permit the county attorney the right to preserve the county's ability to negotiate a contract with CVE.
Thank you.
That addresses your question, Supervisor
But
Wild.
it does.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
That will be resolution 631.
That's resolution 631. I'd previously asked if there was any discussion regarding any from the public on any proposed resolutions in front of us. I want to ask that one more time. Is there anyone here today that would like to be heard regarding proposed resolutions? Hearing none, I'd like to open up discussion on the floor for our proposed resolutions that are before us this afternoon. During committee report, Supervisor Diamond had stated he'd like to discuss 572. Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try to be brief. If you look at your packet today, and I would refer to page 3 of the resolution of 572, I want to just talk a little bit about the particular job code, which is A3110-110, or called the undersheriff. The undersheriff accepted this position in 2019 at a $35,000 a year salary, and his salary remained consistent through 2020. I support his position that he wants to modify his salary. I'm not opposed to what he's attempting to do here. What I have some problems with is the cost of living increase that's included in this particular salary. If you look back in 2020, the salary was set at about, I want to say 106,732. And in that budget, the 2019-2020 budget, it was modified by another $1,200, which is not a big deal to me. But what I want to bring out present is that if we started with the salary of 107,941 and multiply that times the cost of living, the number comes up to 111,179.23. I would like to ask this board to amend that salary that's been put into this budget to 111,179.23, specifically because during 2021, nobody at all, everybody that's a non-member of the bargaining unit did not get a 3% increase. This particular increase that we're going to vote on today is 6%. I have a very, very difficult time sending a message out to the hardworking people of the county that we're going to award a 6% cost of living increases versus the 3% that people are generally entitled to do. I know there's been talks about that, there may be longevity included into this salary that has been set. Again, we're talking about an individual that retired from the county, became an elected official, and rehired as a county employee. Personally, I think that sets a bad precedence of including longevity into a position of that matter. So my question would be today to Amanda or someone else that may be able to answer that. I'd like to support all of these increases here today, but this, to me, a 6% increase through the calendar year of 2021 and 2020, I really can't support that. So I would ask to have the board modify it if they choose to do that.
Is that a motion then to amend the,
Yeah, whatever that's the process. Amanda, can I amend one particular salary in this line of salaries?
Amanda, if you would address that?
So you can amend the resolution to, or the board can amend the resolution to change the salary.
Of one particular.
You can do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
So I'd like to put that motion forward that we change the salary on that particular position to $111,179.23. That reflects a 3% cost of living increase that everybody else had received.
is there a second to that amendment? That second is done by Supervisor McGowan. Is there discussion? I see our first hand of being discussion, our treasurer. And Mike, would you mind just coming to the podium so we can all hear you? Thank you.
Could I just request that you make that an even number? We can't do pennies in payroll, okay?
Thank you.
I
That's
don't care what
fine
you
with
do. I just, if we can make it an even dollar.
We'll round it up.
Round it up.
So to be clear, Supervisor Diamond, it would be 1,000 and
His salary would actually be amended to $111,180.
okay, do you agree to that amendment, Supervisor McGowan?
I'll second the amendment.
Okay, now that it's on the floor, is there discussion? Supervisor Smith and Supervisor McGowan.
Am I correct that he came in and worked a couple years for $35,000? And then the year when we were in the COVID, he didn't request to come back in the salary that was the original salary that should have been provided. So he went 2 years with $35,000. So to me, going up to the natural, I mean, when you think about the increase, he saved us a lot of money for a couple of years with a $35,000 salary. Now all of a sudden, those few percentages that he never got back with 35,000. I mean, I'm just thinking he gave us a bargain for us to pay him 35,000 in those first couple of years.
To address your question, Supervisor Smith, in the first, in 2019, the sheriff came and asked this board to reduce the salary to 35,000. This board approved that, and then that was done subsequently the following year. The third year, however, the board did put, and Budget Officer Thomas did verify this, I believe it was 106 or 107 in the salary at that point in time. I believe Supervisor Diamond's point is that 3% was only given 1 year, not both years. And I will defer to Supervisor Diamond if he would like to talk a little bit more to answer your question.
Yes, that is correct. And in regards to the salary of $35,000, that's what he chosen to do. And in any case, a COLA couldn't be afforded to him because he was limited on his earnings as a retired employee at that point in time. But I'm not against it. I support his request. I mean, that's his right to do. And I just don't want to include a 6% COLA in there. I want to remain consistent with what we've offered all of the non-bargaining unit employees, 3%.
Thank you. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Chairman. I did chair that day. And we went over it, and I have to agree with Supervisor Diamond. You know, in all fairness, 3%. I asked for 107,000. That's what was budgeted, that I asked our budget officer, Supervisor Thomas, and that's what was budgeted. So I thought it was more unfair. I have nothing against giving him the extra money. The reasons why he chose 35,000 was, you know, the choices of his at the time. We did go through COVID. We didn't get any raises. I went with 107, and that's why I seconded the 111,000. So I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? Hearing none. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Let the record reflect Supervisor Strauss, Supervisor Smith, Supervisor McDevitt. Any abstention? That motion carries. Thank you. Please consider resolution 572 amended. I'll close discussion on 572. Supervisor Bramer, during your report, you had asked us to have a discussion regarding amendment on 571.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Yes, on 571, which we had a public hearing on today, this is a local law fixing salaries of certain individuals for 2022. And one of those individuals is our Director of Real Property Tax Services. That department has the director as well as 4 employees. All of our deeds for the entire county go through that department. All of the mapping for new properties created and adjustments and all of that go through that department. As well as everyone knows, our taxing services are all run through Real Property Tax Services Department. And the director is intimately involved with the foreclosure process through the county attorney's office, the treasurer's office. And the big thing that I want to mention here today is that this individual has taken on in the last few years responsibility to serve as basically our project manager or our contractor for all of the property cleanups that we have been able to undertake throughout the county. This has been in several different communities, and she's working on one, at least one at this current time. And I would like to see us honor her service throughout the county. She has been here since 1995. She has been here for it'll be 26 years in 2022. So according to our salary chart, which I know is not entirely binding upon us, she is entitled to the 25th increment, which we have done for other department heads. Right now, she is only listed at her 10th year of service increment. If we were to give her her 25th increment, which she is eligible for, her salary should be $85,572. I won't give you any cents there, Treasurer Swan. And I would ask that we amend this resolution today to put her salary at the 25th increment for her grade, given her years of service, her excellent service to the county, and her taking on an additional responsibility with respect to the environmental cleanups around the county. That would be my motion to make her salary $85,572.
Is there a second to that
I would
motion?
second that. Supervisor Merlino, I'll second it.
Well, Supervisor Merlino will second your motion. Is there any discussion? Supervisor McGowan?
Yes, thank you. I don't have a problem with that. But what I brought up at the time that it was brought up is that, you know, if we're gonna do this, we have to do it across the board for everyone, if we're gonna look at it that way. And, you know, we have other directors and other employees that have excelled in doing that, that should, you know, be paid. So at the time, I wasn't comfortable in doing it at a last minute thing that came up without doing it. And I wanted a plan. Are we going to be doing this to all the other employees? Are we prepared to do this to everybody else? Because you know what's going to happen.
Are you asking me a question or you're just
Well, I'm
stating your
asking you a
opinion?
question.
Okay, no, I'm happy to answer that for you, Supervisor McGowan. I believe that this year our budget officer did an excellent job in working with the county administrator, the personnel chair, the vice chair, and myself in going through a process with performance evaluations in context of the budget. Of course, there are always concerns that come up after, which is exactly why we have the dialogue that we have here today, so that we can discuss things both in the committee and at the full board. I think the answer to your question is yes, that is always an ongoing evaluation process. And we were very happy this year to try to address some of the disparities, but to Supervisor Diamond's point earlier, we want to make sure that there is equity and that we are continuing to evaluate people not only on their longevity, but also on their performance. The county administrator and I have had many talks about ways that we can improve upon that chart and how it is a tool to guide this board, but is not something adopted by this board. And I do believe there are some positive changes that could be made to that moving forward. Supervisor McGowan, I'd like to see if there's anyone else before I come back to you, please. Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I've always been surprised that the Director of Real Properties salary was lower than most other directors for the amount of work they do. So I would support an increase in their wage. I don't know if the justification given for the 25 years is the proper way of going. My main concern is that these were budgeted items. What else happens? And this is one of my main concerns of resolutions coming off of the floor, is that it takes a specific issue and does not look at things comprehensively on what the ripple effects will be across the board. And others will have to deal with that, or we will have to deal with it at one point or another. So just perhaps a question then to the administrator or the budget officer of if this goes through, what is the ripple effect?
It's Supervisor Leggett, if you don't mind, I'd like to answer that for you and then ask for the clarification that I answered it correctly. It's my understanding that if there is money in that budget code that she can come back to committee, ask for a transfer if there's not enough in that salary line. overall in her budget, but that request for additional dollars would come back. But ultimately, I'll ask our county administrator or perhaps if our budget officer would like to have that answer, but I'll defer first to our county administrator.
Sure. The best way to answer this question is for me to illustrate two of the resolutions that we have today. The resolution 572, which is amending the tables of organization. You'll see that there are several positions on there that have an effective date of that's in the calendar year 2022. There's a civil service assistant, and there is there are two positions in public health, a health educator and a registered professional nurse. There are several positions in the sheriff's department, including the undersheriff that we just spoke about. And there are several positions in the county attorney's department. Now, the only positions that I just mentioned where we've already made a budget amendment for 2022 are for the county attorney's positions. And that budget amendment is in one of your other resolutions, the very first resolution 522. On page 3 of 3, the heading is transfers within the 2022 budget. And that's because we set up a salary contingency because we foresaw having those changes. So we budgeted for the salary contingency, and those amounts are transferring out of the salary contingency. The remainder of that salary contingency was set up for the full amount of the ask for the undersheriff. And then we had, so that amount is in the budget already, would need to be transferred over into the sheriff's department. And then we would have a small balance left over in that salary contingency that we could also utilize to transfer out. Now, it wouldn't be needed for the civil service position because Trish has, she can probably fund that out of one of her buckets for her part-time employees. It would not be needed for the public health position because a large portion of those salaries is covered by outside aid, so we can amend the budget to put the aid in. And if we have a portion that's covered by the county, we currently have some vacancies in nursing positions where we could transfer the appropriation from the nursing positions to the other positions. And then the remainder, I think that leaves just a couple of sheriff's positions where it's a small dollar amount where that would be easy to fix. So the answer is typically we do those budget amendments during the year and the subsequent year. But the one that we did a bit differently was for the county attorney's positions. We already did that because it was anticipated in the budget.
So I'm not sure if that made it a little more clear as mud, but the bottom line is that if this amendment does go through, then it does appear that that's all that would be needed today.
Yeah.
Correct?
We would amend the budget next year.
Correct. Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, just to follow this through. I mean, what we don't want is we don't want individual supervisors coming to the board to adjust county employee salaries. The process for doing that, I think we have a process for doing that. And so I guess my question, Madam Chair, for the county administrator and for Frank was this considered and rejected? Was it not considered at all? It hadn't come to you, so it wasn't considered within the 2022 budget. In other words, how did this slip through the cracks? Did this slip through the cracks? And if it did, what are your thoughts on this? Because the last thing we want is we don't want individual supervisors jumping into organizational structures, amending budgets. I don't think I'm not saying that's happening here. I'm saying, but it's being advanced by a supervisor. It's not coming. I need to hear it coming from our process is what I'm saying. It's either for
Right.
Frank or for Ryan.
Supervisor Conover, there are two housekeeping points I'd like to make. One, we are all on live mics, so we may not be able to hear the chatter that goes on between supervisors, but on Zoom, everyone listening can hear it. So when an individual has the floor, let's make sure the chatter stays to a bare minimum so that people listening on Zoom are not hearing those sidebar conversations. Number two, we're talking about a personnel issue. If you would like to go into executive session to have a detailed discussion about this, if it's going to be about the performance of an individual, I think that's our best practice.
No.
So you're not asking to talk about the
No,
performance.
what I'm asking about is we have a process
Understood.
that we
County
have.
Administrator Moore, would you please address Supervisor Conover?
Sure. The state law, New York State County law provides for the legal process by which a budget is formulated and adopted. When the department head requests are submitted, and here in Warren County, the departmental request column will always be, it's like, I call it a current law column. So the system will, for the union salaries, our payroll system will populate the salaries that are guaranteed by the collective bargaining agreements. For the non-union positions, it'll just carry forward the current salary. And so the department requests for what the raise would be for the following year, if you will, doesn't actually show up in their column, but it's something that is advanced to the budget team, and the budget team takes a look at it. Now that brings it into the budget officer's column. So the budget officer will take a look at all of those requests, make a decision on each of them, also make a decision on what an overall cost of living adjustment might be. And the budget officer will put his recommendation in the budget officer's column. In this particular case, that was done, and that is the salary that's reflected on the resolution now. Then when the budget officer submits the budget, the state law rolls it into the column of the budget committee. The budget committee has the opportunity to make adjustments. That becomes the tentative budget. And then the tentative budget goes to the full board, and the full board has the ability to so that's the process.
If I may, Mr. Conover or Supervisor Conover, Supervisor McGowan was up for a second round before I come back to you. So I would like to ask any other supervisor that has not yet been heard on this to please let me know. Otherwise, I will go to second round. Supervisor Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. During the budget process, I believe that leadership of this board went through every one of these requests. And this particular one that you're talking about, the individual requested approximately an $18,000 increase, and we landed kind of in the middle, and some of us were happy about that and some of us weren't. And that's why it's where it's at. And as far as 85,000 something, I'm looking at the chart right now and I don't even see 85,000 on it. I see the 78 is at the 25th increment. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Supervisor Thomas. I want to give our county administrator a moment just to pull up the chart.
Yeah, I have the chart, and I think, all due respect, I think you may be looking at the 2021 that's not adjusted by the 3%. But this position is 15, and looking on the 2022 chart, the 78,310 is the 10th, and the 25th would be 85,572. 85,572.
Okay, I stand corrected on that point, but I will say that it was discussed, and she got the 3% and she got beyond the 3%. That's where we're at. And now you want, instead of, I mean, you were just complaining about somebody getting more than 3%. And now you're looking at probably a 10% raise.
Thank you, Supervisor Thomas. Before we go to our second round, I do have a comment to make as part of the leadership team, and Supervisor Leggett, I'll add you to that list. This was a discussion where there was a lot of time and consideration put into multiple positions. This is exactly why this resolution is in front of a full board. And once again, many times in committee, there's discussions that then proceed to a full board for a greater discussion. I applaud the discussion that's taking place here today and the respectful nature of it. We'll also say that due to an additional request as it related to the undersheriff, there became a lot of dialogue around the years of service and how many individuals, and to be specific with you, there are 49 individuals that are not at their maximum amount of years and 7 attorneys. That equates to about $200,000 if you take out the undersheriff and county attorney changes. So there, she's certainly not alone in someone being at a lesser year based on she's eligible for 25 as being paid at a 10. We've adjusted other people on this list that for years have worked very hard, and I'm so happy to see that adjusted as well. So while ideally I'd love to see every single person adjusted and paid to their longevity and to their performance levels, this is one that has been identified, was highly debated, and certainly is before you today as we look at this amendment. So Supervisor, I'm going to try to go in order though. Supervisor McGowan, Conover, Leggett, Thomas. Brain, did you speak earlier, Brain? I think you did. I'm sorry. Thank you. Mr. McGowan.
Well, I was gonna make a more simpler comment, but I'm going to stick with Supervisor Leggett's determination of where it goes. I was gonna say it's gonna open a Pandora box, but I think Supervisor Leggett said much better to me, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor McGowan. Next, I had Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, listen, I don't have any difficulty with this on its face. If I understand it now correctly, this was considered with, like I said, it would be within the budget of all positions. Decisions were made and for the adjustments, and that's what was put in the budget, and that's the process. And if I'm hearing the budget officer correctly, and so now what we have is a resolution coming to us apart from that process. I'm not saying there isn't a case to be made. There may be a case to be made, but the case needed to be made initially, it seems to me, during that budget process. And then the question becomes, well, okay, what happens if the budget process misses something? How do we handle it then? And one would think that one would say, hey, we made a mistake here. We need to make an adjustment. And that one would think that would go, I'm speculating, would go back to personnel. And we'd ask the county administrator for his input. And we would, eventually we would be right here and we would vote, right? And so my concern is when that doesn't happen. And it puts me in a very difficult spot when that doesn't happen, because it could. What are we to do next month? Now, some supervisor knows somebody, and now they come forward with who knows how many names saying this should be adjusted. I want this person's got this many years. This person should do this, and then the whole business starts spiraling. I don't know. I don't quite know how to deal with this, is what I'm saying.
Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you. And if Supervisor Conover doesn't know how to deal with it, we all don't. It's this does come down to process. Point of information for the whole board is I have out the 2021 budget. This position was at 69,000 last year, 69,637. So as budget officer said, they struck a deal. You might say, a compromise, and increased this significantly this year. Anybody that works with their own town budgets as well knows that not everybody is up to speed, but sometimes you can't make the whole leap in 1 year. In the town of Chester, it's taken us 6 years to get some individuals up to a place where they should be, because it's all part of that budgeting process. I think, again, as I had said before, this position was underfunded. I'm happy to see that a significant stride has been made to bring it up to speed, and I would encourage that it be done again next year to get it up to a level commensurate with the responsibilities of the department.
Supervisor Thomas.
Let's leave it at.
Yes, well, each individual on that chart has the amount of time that they've been with the county. But my understanding of our operation was that didn't necessarily mean that that's the increment that you got. Otherwise, what's the point in having the chart other than to tell you what the number is? I thought that there was some merit requisite that would, that maybe possibly get you to your top limit. But that not necessarily is the case, and that doesn't, it's not automatic. Otherwise, I don't know why we waste our time doing all these evaluations and doing all this stuff. We just, go to how many years you've been here, and that's what you get.
Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you so much. I do want to make the point, I made it already, that yes, I think that this person qualifies due to merit to have the increase in longevity. I'm not saying that she should just get the longevity because it's on the chart. I'm not saying that. I'm saying she deserves it due to her performance. Also, to the comment that, let's just take care of it next year. Why not honor and respect the person this year? She has been told in the past that we'll raise it, just wait, hang on. And then the pandemic hit and no one got any raises. So she has been waiting. And as to the, we need to follow the budget process. I am looking at a resolution where we are handling a whole slew of things outside of the budget process, because things do come up and we are a board of supervisors. We're not run by one or two people or the administrator. This is run by a board of supervisors. We have a resolution in front of us with this salary. We can make an amendment at this time. And I do want to say, for those who are very respectful of the committee process, which I am as well, I did try to bring this through personnel at the last meeting. And there was obfuscation about the amount of money in the contingency account. There is plenty of money in the contingency account for 2022, but at the personnel meeting, this was shot down because, we only have $4,000 available left over. That's not true. We have over 275,000, 280, 279,000, whatever the number is. We have plenty of money there. So I do want people to know that this isn't just something I whipped up out for today. I have been trying for months, in fact, for years, to raise this salary to the appropriate level for the work that is done by this person who has been here for 26 years. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't want to limit discussion on this. I see a few more hands, and then I think we'll probably have to go to a roll call vote on the amendment. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I agree that this individual is well deserving of the increase. However, I have to say I'm incredibly uncomfortable with the process. As a supervisor who also during the budget process advocated loud and long for increases for others and was told, no, here we are. I just don't think that this is good process. It can't be about whether you have a champion in the room. It has to be a more thoughtful process. So I'm not saying this person isn't deserving. They definitely are, but I'd like to see us, rather than duke it out here like this, take it back to personnel with a commitment to really look at all of the individuals that might be deserving, and with a much clearer idea of what we do have in that reserve. Thank you.
With that, thank you, Supervisor Hogan. With that suggestion, Supervisor Bramer, now that we'll have a personnel meeting set before the end of the year, perhaps you consider withdrawing the amendment and putting it on your personnel committee, or would you like to keep the amendment and move forward?
You put me in a difficult spot. I will go ahead and do that.
I'm sorry. It is a local law, so.
Yeah. There's just as a point of information, it's typically we handle salaries on amending it's a resolution. It takes a month to do the salary schedule. There are certain positions where the salary has to be set according to state law by local law, and this is one of them. So that's the amendment that you're considering is an amendment to the local law. So
and I would just ask that we take the
process-
vote on the amendment. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Okay.
Since it's a local law, and I will take.
Okay, very good. Other discussion before we do the vote. Supervisor Garrity.
What did you just decide?
We're going to continue with, there's a motion and a second on an amendment to change the Director of Real Property Tax Services to $85,572. And that is on Resolution 1 of 2022. Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. My question is this: part of the justification or rationale for the increase here was
the additional duties, i.e. contract administration, inspection, et cetera. And this individual has done a great job. I'm not denigrating that in any way. But I wonder why, and I'll direct this to Mr. Hajols, this, and I said this before, would seem to be more well-suited to public works when it comes to procurement of services, removal of asbestos, demolition, that sort of thing. More suited to the Department of Public Works to perform those services. So that's a question, and maybe Mr. Hajols will want to.
Sure. So perhaps, if it's okay with you, Supervisor Bruno, what I would like to do, because it also looks like Supervisor Swan, Treasurer Swan, would like to answer that question as well. So perhaps I could have Treasurer Swan and then Superintendent Hajos, if you feel maybe at.
Sounds like my.
Well, once again, I believe this chart needs a little bit of tweaking moving forward.
All right.
Yes.
Just to give you a background, to understand, for 22 years, I was the director of real property. And when I came in as the treasurer, I talked this board and we worked out a process to create a testing fund to test all of these properties that we had been sitting out there for years and years and years with taxes accumulating on them and thinking they might be contaminated, but having no clue. And at the time, and I'm not trying to take a shot at DPW here, but at the time, the superintendent of DPW at the time, when we started all of this, said, I don't want to be involved. So Lexi stepped up and said, I'll do it. That's where we're at right now.
May
Can I speak?
certainly,
I
Supervisor
understand
Bruno.
where we're at now, and that's my point.
Okay,
Maybe that should be changed.
right.
That I don't know. I'm just trying to give you the history of why it's at now.
Treasurer Swan, I have a question. Was there ever a desk audit done to reflect the additional duties?
Say that again.
Was there a desk audit done to reflect the additional duties?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and I do find that is something that as we look at positions and their budgeting, that we are continuing to look at reclassifications, desk audits, and additional duties that we ask many, many people to take on. And it sometimes takes a long time to get to the point where their salaries are reflective. But this is not a single issue, 49 other people. Other discussion on this topic, Supervisor Wild?
Madam Chair, thank you. I'm going to be brief, hopefully. I believe this belongs in committee. I don't understand the local law piece. Does that mean if we don't do it today, then this won't happen all year? Or can we amend this in January and do something retroactive if the board decides to do so?
First answer is this has been in committee. For several years, this has been brought up in committee. It has been talked about. The second answer to that, I am going to defer to both our county administrator and our county clerk. County administrator?
Yeah, my point in making the distinction between the resolution and the local law was just so that the board is aware that if you kick it into next year, amending a local law is a multi-month process as opposed to a resolution with the compensation schedule resolution. You could do that in 1 month. That was all.
That's what I agree with what Ryan said. The only other thing I would add is that this local law number 1 is subject to a 45-day permissive referendum. So that means even though it's effective January 1st, the salaries don't go into effect for 45 days. So if you approve this one in 45 days, those salaries go into effect. If you amend it, it would be another 45 days before that.
Okay. Additional questions, Supervisor Garrity?
Just real quick.
Can you talk into your microphone, please?
I don't remember talking about this at the personnel committee. I missed that. But anyways, I really think that's where we should be discussing it. I'm not opposed to doing it, but I just think if we're going to talk personnel, I'm not comfortable talking in open session on a salary of a particular individual. I think we should talk at the personnel committee and executive session. That's just my feelings on this. I don't think this is appropriate. The other thing is, I know a lot of effort was put in at determining salaries, I believe, right? You've spent hours determining salaries.
Oh, I think you're well aware of that, Supervisor Garrity, yes.
Yeah, so, you know,
Over the
and
years.
I'm a little disappointed that they couldn't come to some resolve when the discussion, but I would rather bring it back to personnel and have that discussion in executive session.
Okay.
But I know that probably won't happen, but I'm just saying.
No, Supervisor Garrity, we may not agree on a lot, but here today, what we agree on is that we should be in executive discussion talking about
I
the
agree.
performance of a particular individual. Instead, we've decided to do it in a public setting, which I always disagree with. That being said, we defer to our budget officer because he was appointed by the chair as the budget officer. Again, many times members of this board disagree with a chair, with a budget officer, or with decisions made, and they bring it up at a full board, and that is their right. I understand the concerns to the process, but I believe we've discussed this. If there's further discussion, I would prefer, this is going to have to be a roll call vote. I prefer we have the vote on amending this resolution and move forward. Supervisor Bruno.
I just want to clarify
Yeah.
before we close this out. I'm not opposed to the salary adjustment
Mhm.
increase, what are you going to call it? My point, and this should go through committee, is just where these duties are assigned maybe needs, some of the duties needs to change. So, thank you.
Valid point. And if I could ask our superintendent to please also work not only with the HR, but real property and the treasurer's office, take a look at that to address Supervisor Bruno's concern, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point in time, I believe a roll call will be required to amend this or to consider amending.
This is on the motion to amend resolution 571 to increase the salary of the real property tax service director to $85,572. Mr. Garrity,
I will vote yes, but with reservations.
Mr. Conover,
Yeah, I'm a no.
Mr. Leggett,
No.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt,
No.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
No.
Mrs. Frazier,
No.
Ms. Smith,
No.
Ms. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
No.
Mr. Wild,
No.
Mr. McGowan,
No.
Mr. Beatty,
No.
Mr. Thomas,
No.
Ms. Shepler,
No.
Chairwoman Seaver.
No.
The motion fails with a vote of 274 in favor, 673 against, 53 absent.
Closing discussion on that resolution for 571. Are there other resolutions before us today that the board wishes to discuss? Supervisor Conover?
Thank you. I don't know that it needs to be in, I'm sorry, let me get the correct number. Resolution 528. In the composition of the letter, I don't know that it needs to be in the composition of the letter. Perhaps it could be Supervisor Hogan could perhaps deliver the communication to the APA, but that certainly our support of any business activity does not in any way modify our position relative to the railroad. And I think that, I just want to make that clear for the record that, we have resolutions of the board, we have positions that we've taken, which include support of the state's abandonment process. So I don't have any problem with sending a letter. I'm going to vote for this, but I just want to make sure that we make it clear to whoever that in no way does this imply. I know it doesn't say it, it won't say it explicitly, but I don't want it to even imply that somehow we've modified our position relative to the railroad corridor. I guess, Madam Chairwoman, I guess what I would ask is perhaps the county administrator could communicate with our representative to the APA to make sure that when this letter is delivered, that the communication is also delivered. This in no way modifies our position relative to the corridor. I don't know. I mean, that's my concern. I'm not sure I know exactly the best mousetrap to address it.
Supervisor Conover, if it's agreeable with you, I think because this resolution isn't specifically addressing that or not addressing that, if you would please leave it to the county attorney, county administrator, and the chair to then coordinate and share the content and draft of that letter. And certainly, if they would like it by the end of the year, I know they were hopeful for it by now. But if not, if there's something that's so egregious in it, we can come back and have that discussion.
Sure.
Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you. Thank you. I do need a roll call on 528, by the way, but I don't think it compromises my position to simply state here that Barton Mines only has operations that sit adjacent to the rail line. They're not part of that discussion. They have not weighed in on the bankruptcy, nor have they expressed any desire to ship anything by rail. These are totally separate issues. They simply sit adjacent to the rail line. So I don't think that your concerns, that one impacts the other in any way.
Very good. Does that address your concerns, Supervisor Conover?
I'm good with that.
Providing there's no other concerns regarding 528 and just the request for a roll call for that, I'm going to close discussion on 528. Discussion on other resolutions before us today. Supervisor Shepler.
I'm not even sure that this is a resolution, Madam Chair, but item 13 is before us on our desks
Item
in the form of a resolution for 2021, and I haven't heard any action being taken in regards to turning it into a resolution. Is it going to be, and has it been before committee?
What was that?
I'm not sure I have an item 13 on my desk. Supervisor Shepler.
We all have one.
Okay, it's my understanding, I do think I don't have it, but Supervisor Bramer, at this point in time, thank you Supervisor Shepler for bringing it up. Supervisor Bramer, is item number 13 an item that you wish to present?
Sure, I haven't raised it yet because it is not on the resolution list, but I did place these on all of your desks, including yours, Chairwoman. It should be up there somewhere under your stack of stuff.
Oh, sorry.
It is regarding compensation plan for 2022. As we have just heard, a lot of discussion about salaries for 2022. I believe that this is the appropriate time to bring it forward, a discussion regarding the stipends for the two majority and minority leaders, as well as the chair of the board. I have not yet brought that to the floor, and I was hoping to do so at the end of our discussions of actual resolutions. Thank you.
Supervisor Bramer, then if we can get through the discussion of the other resolutions, we'll come right back to that. Is that agreeable?
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. So we will lay that on the table for the moment. Other resolutions before us today. Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's two resolutions I want to briefly talk about. First one is 531. That's the fireworks. And I will support this, but I think it's important that the public understands that all we're stopping the sale of are sparklers. We are not doing anything to stop the loud reports or bangs that happen from other illegal fireworks that have been illegal. And the question is, are we going to enforce them? This action to say the fireworks are illegal. I don't believe we're necessarily going to do that. So in my mind, this is, again, a hollow legislation. I know the public wants to see it, but I don't think it's going to drive the result unless we have some enforcement mechanism to stop these illegal fireworks being discharged in the county.
Supervisor Wild, I'm assuming that's some type of a question, but to address that, law enforcement has often said that what they are struggling with is with the sparkling law. Many times there are noises, we've heard multiple times people say the snapping or the banging, not the large ones going up in the air. Those are certainly illegal, but it is difficult to determine what is legal and what is not legal. And I do know that law enforcement has said that if there's a law that you can't use any type of sparkler, we already know you can't use firework, but any sparkling device, then yes, of course, they'll be responding to those. Law enforcement responds to all of the anyone who breaks any type of a law or anything that isn't permissible in Warren County. So I think we're jumping. You can certainly talk with Sheriff LaFar, but I'd be surprised if he would tell you that law enforcement wouldn't respond to a complaint regarding breaking the law. But that being said, Supervisor Bramer, you had your hand up.
I did. Thank you. One of my thoughts is, yes, a lot of people are concerned about the big banging and the loud noises coming from the other types of fireworks that I guess are considered sparklers, but I have heard people say they still want the right to be able to use sparklers on July 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if there is a way to amend this particular law to allow not any sale. They're gonna have to go somewhere else to buy them, but to use this on that one day of the year when we celebrate our independence.
Was that a motion to amend based on hearing from the public to allow use on July 4th.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second to that? Supervisor McGowan, are you seconding that?
Yes, with discussion.
Certainly. Let's open up discussion for the amendment to take this local law and amend the permissible use, not sale, but use of sparkling devices on July 4th. A discussion. Supervisor Garrity.
Well, I feel since we passed this law initially, I think our complaints went up. And I think it's more difficult for the police when they investigate a complaint, whether it's illegal fireworks or legal fireworks. And I think if you check in most communities, once we allow them to set up these tents, you got more complaints, and we're sending the police out on more fireworks complaints. So I think repealing the law is the best way to go. And then for sure, they're going to know that most of the fireworks complaints are illegal fireworks. So I think in our community, once we've said you can sell, but you can't sell this, our complaints went up in the community. So, and I don't know, that's just the way I feel about it. I think repealing is the right way to go.
Okay, other discussion on the amendment, Supervisor Beatty?
Yeah, I know Supervisor Garrity wasn't at the meeting, public meeting this week, but I did go over the amount of complaints by year since 2015 when we enacted the local law. And just to help you out there, Supervisor, 2015, there were 92 complaints filed. 2016, 73, 2018, 78, 2019, 53, 2020, 188, and last year through, and this year through July 14th, there's been 78, of which 44 occurred between the July 1st and 5th dates. So is that scientific? No, but that's the amount of complaints actually being lodged. So it was going down, and then it's gone up significantly in 2020. And this year, we're probably on pace for around the same amount, maybe slightly less than last year. Hopefully that helps you out.
Other discussion on the Supervisor Driscoll?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I appreciate hearing from Supervisor Bramer. I'm concerned, though, that a lot of communities celebrate the 4th of July, oftentimes the night before. The Glens Falls Symphony Orchestra generally plays the night before. People start to celebrate Independence Day long before the 4th. People start to celebrate Christmas long before even December. I had neighbors who had Christmas ornaments up a week before Thanksgiving. How long a period of time do you need to provide for people to get their thrills out? I don't think that one day is going to work. I don't even know if 1 month would work. Just my point. I think by limiting to 1 day, we're just asking for trouble.
Other discussion on the amendment, Supervisor McGowan?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was at the meeting, and I listened to both sides. And basically, what we're talking, because, you're talking the sparklers, so that, the smaller ones, 10, as the gentleman stated this morning, 10 to 15 feet high. The complaints are really coming from what they call the Roman candles, the ones that you can pick up from New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, south of the border. The little bigger ones that are more allowed. Unfortunately, we're never going to stop them from coming in because they always been here, ever since I grew up. I believe what we need to do is tighten down some laws, put in some times, give it a fluctuation around the 4th, because a lot of times people celebrate the 4th on the weekend if it happens to fall in the middle of the day, the fire, I'm a toss up, because what it's all going to do is people are going to still bring in the bigger ones. They're not going to be able, at least now we're limited to smaller ones and smaller noise. All right. But if we can limit the times and limit, hours, put in some effects of the police. The problem is now they cannot go, and because we're talking Class A to class B or C. And by the time the police get there, the evidence could all be gone and you wouldn't know what the class. So I don't know. It's a toss up here. And I personally would really like to give this a little bit more thought before we just throw it all out the door.
Supervisor McGowan, the discussion right now for anyone else is on, it needs to be germane to the topic, and that is the amendment to have July 4th be the exception for use and still prohibiting sale. So that is what is before us right now. Is there any further discussion before I call for the vote for the amendment? At this point in time, I'll call for the vote for the amendment. We'll try it by raising hands first before a roll call. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by raising your hands. Opposed? Clearly, anyone abstain? Clearly, the amendment fails. So before you today is still the resolution 531. Is there any further discussion on 531? Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Chairwoman Seaver. On page 3 of 3 on the local law here, section 5 definition, sparkling devices are defined in section 270 of New York State penal law. This was described very well the other night by Assistant County Attorney Terwilliger. And looking through a lot of the comments that have come on about the rescinding of the local law enabling sales and use of sparkling devices, it is very obvious that most people think that we are prohibiting fireworks and a lot of the loud noises and all of these other things that was pointed out by Supervisor McGowan. Those are available from other states and are brought in. And at these, what we have allowed by, which are allowed by the state and the town and the county has opted in previous years to the use and sale of these sparkling devices, is consistent with state law. And I do not really see that the rescinding of our sale and use within this county is really going to stop what's really at fault. Some of that is stupidity.
No.
Others of it is, just using them irresponsibly. You're not going to get down to that. I am not in favor of rescinding the resolution on the sale and use of sparkling devices in the county, because for many people, they do provide enjoyment and in a very simple and safe way. And I would hate to think that these families and grandparents and such that do it at the most minimal level, these are sparkling devices at the most minimal level, are now going to be contrary to law. So I'm not in favor of rescinding resolution. I'm not in favor of resolution number 531. Would ask for a roll call.
Can you please let the record reflect the roll call? I would like to make a brief comment on this that I have not weighed in. And last night at the public, or Wednesday night at the public hearing, and for months through the Warren County email, through multiple emails we've all gotten, I wish that this board could come to a compromise. What we heard from the public was an ask for a compromise. We heard people who had entities and properties that sold these fireworks ask for a compromise to be able to have use and sale during the same time period. When this was passed, it was not intended that we would have the usage of these sparkling devices year round. And the compromise that was asked of us was, could you limit the use to be at the same time as the sale? Therefore, you are not, having any impact on the sales tax that many people have talked about, and we can't verify, but they believe that it's significant. They would still have that week to, if you did 5 days before and 2 days after, or, a week around each holiday. It's only sold here twice a year, July 4th and December 31st. And if you had use follow the same time as the same time period as the sale. And the majority of complaints we heard were from people that all year long, they were having sparkling devices snap and pop and scare their animals, scare them as veterans. and have other quality of life issues. I'll remind you that the mayor of Lake George has sent in a request to this board to ask us for consideration of some sort. He'd like a repeal, but I'm sure he'd appreciate a compromise. So I stand before you asking for some type of a compromise based on really quite a few people that have written in. So that's my 2 cents. Supervisor Thomas.
I guess I have a question more than an answer. Why can't this be also regulated by individual towns in the city? I mean, why can't the people of this county have the option of buying these things? But if the town you live in is totally opposed to it, then pass a local law that prohibits it. But I don't see the one size fits all practice here. You know, I mean, we complain about the state doing this, and here we are doing it ourselves. For us, for the smaller towns, I really don't see this as an issue, period.
I'll ask our county attorney to weigh in on that.
If you can loop back to me, I need to go look at Penal Law 405, which provided the carve out for counties, to see if there was a carve out for municipalities as well. I'll have that answer in a moment.
Thank you. I think that was the issue when it was initially proposed to us, Supervisor Thomas. While he's looking that up, and let me know, county attorney, when you're ready, I'll come right back to you. Is there other discussion on 531, Supervisor Straugh?
Yes, we too get many complaints in Queensberry because the law says that, you know, fireworks are legal. And people extrapolate that to saying all fireworks are legal and they use them. And then, you know, like Sheriff LaFar says, it's difficult to distinguish between those that are legal and those that are not legal. And if the law were clear that fireworks, as far as personal use, is illegal, it's cut and dry. There's no extrapolation. There's no trying to rationalize the use of fireworks. They are illegal in Warren County, period. I think that has to be clear. And then you're going to solve a lot of your problems.
Supervisor Strauss, my understanding that fireworks are already illegal in Warren County in the state of New York.
That's your definition,
Oh, okay.
not the public's definition.
Right, which is why I think the sparkling devices have
They
complicated
interpret
it.
fireworks, sparkling devices,
Right.
it's all synonymous.
Yep.
So my point is, if you make it clear, prohibit fireworks, prohibit sparkling devices, but the public calls them fireworks,
Okay,
it's going to be better for us that manage our town.
so you're in favor of repealing?
Yeah.
Thank you. County attorney, you need a few more minutes?
When I look at the statute that in 2015 initially carved this sparkling device opportunity out for counties, and then the 2018 legislation, which further amended it, it appears that the statute just provides that a county may enact a local law to prohibit the sale and use of sparkling devices. It does not make any reference to any other municipalities having that authority, at least not for purposes of Warren County.
All right, further discussion at 531. Okay, we're going round 2. Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Chairwoman. You brought up a good point. As public testimony had mentioned, what about a compromise? What would be the process if we sent this back to build in some sort of time and period of use of these sparkling devices? What's required at this point in time for that to happen?
I've asked our county attorney's office to be prepared for that over the last several months, 7 or 8 months that we've been talking about this. And County Attorney Twilliger had said that is absolutely an option. So it just depends on what this board decides is going to be that date. I only brought up the idea of the 5 days before and 3 days or 2 days after to make it 1 week. But that's also what we heard. But I'll obviously defer to our county attorney.
There's 3 pieces here. There's possession, there's use, and there's sale. The county is not allowed to regulate possession of a sparkling device. They can regulate use and they can regulate sale. And you can make any terms you want regarding the time frame for that. Currently, it's the 30 days. Well, it's a little more than 30 days, but it's the time period around the 4th of July. And then from December 26th to January 2nd. Now, each of those two items that the county has authority to regulate, use and sale, are separate, and the county can regulate them differently. You can choose not to sell, but allow use. I don't imagine authorizing sale but not use. But that's the table of options available. And what that time frame is, it doesn't have to be the time frame that was set forth in the local law. It doesn't have to be 0 days. It can be any number that the board in their discretion deems is appropriate at the county level. And again, it is only sparkling devices we're talking about. Having heard the public comment and some other comments, under the penal law, sparkling devices are defined as handheld or ground-based. So if it flies, it's not covered as a sparkling device per the statute under the penal.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Supervisor Leggett?
It partially, at this moment in time, obviously this needs some work. Can we just send it back to Government Ops Committee to come back? I know it's a proposed local law, or does it need amendment right now and just say, put it in?
Supervisor Leggett, if we amend it right now, we can take into consideration the public comment, amend it, move forward. If we're going to table it back to committee, you will find yourself in the situation where we will be coming back out for another public hearing, and it will have to go back through this lengthy process again. Supervisor Shepler.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Not to, there were 43 emails in favor of the repeal of further limitations. 43 emails out of how many total residents do we have in Warren County?
We have approximately 65, but I don't think that also includes all the phone call. I mean, personally, this has been a topic for 10 years that I've heard about, but it doesn't reflect all of that, obviously.
I appreciate that, but again, as was discussed earlier today, the concern is we can repeal it, we can abolish the use or the sale, but people are still going to go out of county and out of state and bring them back in, and it's still going to continue. Again, I think that the issue here is not the sparklers, but is the M80s, the larger, I don't know all the terms for all the fireworks, but the larger ones. Roman
Excuse me,
candles and that
Supervisor
sort of
Shepler
thing.
has the
Thank you.
floor.
Yes. So I think that's the issue. I don't, I don't believe that the sparklers are really the loud noisemakers that everybody's alluding to. I think that the Roman candles, et cetera, are our issue. And I think that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Respectfully, I disagree only based on the decade now of comments that I've heard from people and the village mayor, who is not addressing the fireworks. He's addressing the sparkling devices. However, we can certainly have this go back to government ops and start over. We could vote on what we have today, and then you can start over next year. And perhaps that's just the right route to go. County Attorney?
Just to make sure there's no misunderstanding, the definition of a sparkling device by state law is that they're ground-based or handheld devices that produce a shower of white, gold, or colored sparks as their primary pyrotechnic effect. Additional effects may be a colored flame, an audible crackling effect, an audible whistle effect, and smoke. These devices do not rise into the air, do not fire inserts or projectiles into the air, and do not explode or produce a report, an audible crackling type effect.
They're most notably known as the snappers, which is why the mayor has, asked us that in smaller towns, they throw out and people jump thinking it's a gunshot. But more or less, a lot of neighborhoods have these go on all the time, which is why the compromise was asked of us to come up with a use and a sale. But Supervisor Hogan?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I've received a lot of feedback on this in my community, and it has universally been to repeal this law. I haven't had anybody say, don't touch this. It's really fabulous. The only observation I'd like to make is if anybody votes to send this back to government ops, I'll expect to see you at the public hearings, sitting through this process again, because that was a lot of hours. So that's all. I just, you know, if you want to go through the process again, that's great. But don't leave it to other people to do that.
So without objection, if we could keep it on the agenda to vote on, and if you want to start it over again next year, you can start it over next year. But otherwise, can we close discussion on 531? And move on to whatever else we have next? Thanks. Other discussion? And any other resolutions, Supervisor Wild?
Madam Chair, thank you. Just very briefly, 526, and hopefully it doesn't lead to the same kind of conversation we just had. This is about collecting fees for inspection, testing, weights and measures. It's what the fees we have for inspecting gas pumps, measuring devices at supermarkets and the like. We're doubling our fees. During the committee, I asked that we delayed this for 6 months. The reason being is that we're under a period of inflation. And I'm going to call it shock right now. People are going through sticker shock. And I'd like to see this delayed for 6 months, just until how we see things settle. We can wait. It's not going to be a huge amount of income lost to the county, but I'd prefer that we wait with this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Other discussion on 526, Supervisor McGowan?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it was brought up, okay? And that's a big word, doubling, okay? But actually, we have the right to go from $5 up to $20. We're asking you to go to 10. So technically, the word would be quartering it, okay? The amount of devices and the time and everything that's put into this, all right, and the future equipment that we need to get for the future metering of the electric meters are coming next for all the car charges. All right, we have antiquated old stuff that we're using. The weights. I mean, you can only put the weights in the bucket so many times, you know, they start chipping, they start changing. But one of the main things that comes out of here, especially the gas stations, take time to do this. But you know, the amazing part is, if you ask, a lot of times it's not the consumers getting ripped off. It's really the markets or the sellers who are cheating themselves because their measurements are off. So, you know, waiting another 6 months is not going to change anything. And it's a minuscule amount. We're talking another $7,000 across the county, you know, in fees that could come into this. And this gives us the option at the busier time of the years when everything's opening up, that we can hire, you know, an intern, or, you know, or bring in a sub to help out, to get all the stores and all the delis and everybody opened up as our season comes in. So to me, to wait on this is ridiculous. And I stated that at the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? Okay, hearing none.
Madam Chair, just one more comment, if you don't mind. Saratoga
Can I
County,
just make sure that no one else has discussion on 526, second round? Supervisor Wild?
thank you, just briefly, Saratoga County, as well as other counties, charge no fees. They don't charge. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We'll close discussion on 526. Any other resolutions that the board would like to discuss today? Hearing none. Supervisor Bramer? I believe this was item number 13.
Yes. It's on your,
I
your
found it.
tables. You should have it there.
Thank you.
And I believe I stated this in the Personnel Committee, that we've heard a lot this year about people having objection to the salary for the stipends for those 2 leadership positions. And, you know, what I stated at the Personnel Committee was that it's a lot of work. It's been a lot of work. Supervisor Beatty said earlier today how many times that we've called each other, met, tried to work out issues, tried to come to compromise on our disagreements, because of course the 2 of us have very differing positions and perspectives a lot of times. And however, you know, if we go forward and we do not have any stipends, I think that is a position the board has asked for. So I would like to bring this forward. I also think it's important that we know that the chair of the board is willing to serve without a stipend as well. This person should be here to serve for the best interests of the entire county. And certainly we want people here who will do the best job that they can for all of the county and involve all the supervisors and have a good leadership team around them. And I think that this would be reflective of that person's objective to serve in that role. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a motion to bring it to the table.
Thank you. At this point in time, then I would need a motion to waive the rules.
I'll make
Sorry,
the
thank
motion, waive the rule.
That motion is made by Supervisor Diamond, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. This is just discussion on the motion to waive the rules. That is the only discussion, is to waive the rules. Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, I'll be voting no on waiving the rules. So this was tabled in personnel for all good reasons, and it couldn't be considered in finance. Why it's here now, I don't know. It's unimportant. I'll be voting no on waiving the rules. This needs to go back and needs to be dealt with by the new board next year. Thank you.
Any further discussion solely on waiving the rules? Right now, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
We're voting on the motion to waive the rules of the board to bring item 13 to the floor. Mr. Garrity?
No.
Mr. Conover?
No.
Mr. Leggett?
No.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
No.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
No.
Mrs. Frazier?
No.
Ms. Smith?
No.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
No.
Mr. Stroud?
No.
Mr. Wild?
Yes, for some of the same reasons as others.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
No.
Ms. Shepler?
No.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Okay, this is a waiving of the rules that requires a 2/3 majority, so the motion fails. There were 501 votes in favor, 446 against, and 53 absent.
Thank you. That fails. Are there any other items to come before us regarding resolutions? Hearing none at this point in time, I'm going to ask for any, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask our clerk to please read the ones that we have a roll call for already and see if there are any other requests for roll calls.
So
If you
in
wouldn't
addition
mind.
to what's marked on your index, 528 and 531 have been requested.
Are there any other requests for roll calls? Okay. Hearing none, we'll begin our voting on resolutions.
Okay, resolution 522, making supplemental appropriations. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
No.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 523, amending Warren County budget for 2021. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yeah.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith? Yes. Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 528, authorizing county administrator and county attorney to draft a letter and the chairwoman to sign in support of Barton Mines application to the Adirondack Park Agency. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yeah.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
No.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Recuse.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 531, enacting local law number 10 of 2021 entitled a local law of the County of Warren, New York, repealing local laws 3 of 2015, 2 of 2016, and 3 of 2016, and prohibiting the use and sale of sparkling devices in Warren County. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
No.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
No.
Ms. Shepler?
No.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 571, enacting local law number 1 of 2022 entitled a local law fixing the salaries of certain county officers and employees in Warren County. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
No.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 572, amending tables of organization in Warren County Salary and Compensation Plan for 2021 and 2022. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Just 1 second, my computer's trying to die. Sorry about that. Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 586. Authorizing appropriation of funds from general fund unappropriated surplus to the community college tuition budget. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Rico?
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 587, increasing capital project H396, East River Drive and Hall Street rehabilitation. Mr. Garrity?
Point of order, can we combine 87 and 88 together? They're both capital projects for the DPW.
Yep. Without objection. Thank you. 587 and 588 then are,
Yes.
Okay, so we're voting on 587, which I just read, and 588, which is increasing capital project H381, South Johnsburg Road over Mill Creek Bridge replacement. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
yes.
Both resolutions passed. Resolution 589, authorizing the appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated surplus to the Office of Community Services budget to cover the cost of court ordered New York State criminal procedure competency examinations. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 591, increasing capital project H372, First Wilderness Plan.
Point of order,
State your point.
can we do 91 and 92 together?
A moment, please. Without objection, 591 and 592 will be voted on together.
Please.
Okay, 591 is what I just read. 592 is increasing capital project H292, First Wilderness Heritage Corridor, making the connection. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shuffler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Both resolutions passed. Resolution 596, authorizing the appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated surplus to the sheriff's budget to cover the cost of deficits created from the ratification of collective bargaining agreements. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shuffler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 626, this was for resolution number 4, amending Warren County budget for 2021. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shuffler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes. And resolution 627, this was floor resolution number 5, making supplemental appropriations. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Shuffler?
Yes.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
If I could please have a collective vote on the rest, please signify by saying aye if you're in
Aye.
favor.
Aye.
Nay if you're opposed. Are there any abstentions? The rest carry. At this point in time in our agenda, we'll move on to announcements. Are there announcements by any members of the board? Supervisor Beatty.
Just to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah season, and look forward to seeing everybody's smiling faces in a short 2 or 3 weeks of the new year.
Thank you. Supervisor Diamond.
I want to echo Supervisor Beatty's comments, but I also want to mention too that I've enjoyed this year working together with all these supervisors here. But most importantly, I've watched the chairwoman grow into a true leader. It's been a challenging and difficult year. I don't know if I could go through the experience that she has, but I have a lot of respect for what she's done and achieved. And I look forward to working with her again in 2022, because it's not easy to sit up there every month and deal with some of the issues that we have to deal with. So I commend you for your efforts and keeping your compassion and being honest and upfront with everybody. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Diamond. Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And again, Merry Christmas and blessed holiday wishes to all my colleagues. I've enjoyed working this year. This year, the Chairwoman and last year, Chairman Thomas provided me the great opportunity to chair the Human Services Committee, along with Supervisor Frazier, who chairs the Health Services Committee. Our decisions and deliberations are truly impacting the lives of human beings. Not to take away from those chairs that work with inanimate objects. We're working with the lives of human beings, and during this holiday season, I think a lot of the decisions that we've made throughout the year truly benefit vulnerable populations, senior citizens, people living on fixed incomes, veterans, people dealing with substance abuse and alcoholism, mental health issues, children, youth and families, all of those populations. And again, I'd like to thank all of my colleagues for working with me on issues that are important to me, and I'm glad that they're also important to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Conover?
Yeah, just a question. I thought I heard during the meeting a question that there will be a personnel meeting at the end of the month. I heard a date. Has something been sent out on that yet? No.
Is that a
Okay.
question for the chair,
Yeah,
Supervisor?
has just something been sent out on that?
No, just yesterday, I believe it was, the county attorney and the county administrator had an opportunity to talk about the Board of Ethics. As we all know, we have a Board of Ethics this year, and we would like to be able to have a meeting before the end of the year. The new board will determine the Board of Ethics for next year. Their term runs concurrently with the term of the board. So that meeting is being set, I believe, for the 29th, based on the availability of the members of the Board of Ethics. So that is being worked out by administrative staff right now.
And that would be a meeting of personnel, or would be a meeting of the full board?
It will be a meeting of the Board of Ethics.
Okay, meeting of the Board of Ethics, I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think we do have to schedule personnel. Amanda tells me for a different one, but it would be on the same day.
We were going to send out, we do have a meeting notice prepared for the Board of Ethics, but we were holding that so that we could send it out with the organization meeting date on it as well. And we needed to wait for you to pass that resolution today. So that'll be going out this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other announcements today, Supervisor Straub?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I had the chance to do another tour. I think it's my 4th or 5th tour of the Open Door Mission. And what Kim Cook and her team has done with that old building on Warren Street for the benefit of the greater community is amazing. She probably needs our help, but I believe that she is going to plan a tour of her facility, and I think Ben will help me organize that. We'll get the message out to you. You really should participate in that tour and see what Kim Cook and her team has done. It's fantastic. And I do wish everybody happy holiday and a happy new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Driscoll, I know you were working on coordinating that tour. They certainly had an excellent 5K at Thanksgiving, and many people were masked up. And today, I just want to say thank you all for your leadership. You are all masked up today. And again, we are complying with our mandate, and we certainly appreciate the fact that everyone here today has a mask on. So unless there's other announcements, there appears to be. Supervisor Bramer?
Just one more of a fun event, a neat event downtown Glens Falls at the Civic Center, the SFC Coon Christmas Eve March
Oh, yeah.
in the morning on the 24th. If you have time, please come. It honors our active military and their families while they are away from home. Thank you.
Thank you. That would be a wonderful event to see all of our supervisors there for such a nice team showing on Christmas Eve in support of those serving overseas. Excuse me.
Hold on.
Excuse me. Seeing as this is the last meeting of 2021, I see that Gina from the CVB here would like to say something, and I too would like to be able to close the meeting. Thank you, Supervisor Strauss. Gina?
Thank you, Chairwoman. On behalf of our Lake George Chamber of Commerce and CVB, the business community did want me to come and say thank you throughout this whole year. It's been a very challenging year, but each and every person in this room and Warren County Strong, the communication, the collaboration that we have seen from the Economic Recovery Task Force to individual committees to just the interaction with the business community. You know, we got through the 2020 pandemic, and the communication collaborative, all of those efforts have just continued and escalated in a very positive way, whether they've been challenging, but at least we've been able to talk through things, and we've seen some really great growth and economic recovery that other counties have not seen throughout our state. It's a testament to the openness, the transparency, and everything else that we're all working together to achieve. And so thank you for all of that.
Thank you. Thank you,
Happy New
Gina.
Year.
Thank you for being here and for all your hard work. Merry Christmas. Oh, Supervisor Driscoll, he has stickers that he would like everybody to be wearing.
I'll leave them.
That would be great.
Outside of, well, I'll give them to Amanda's office and
Okay.
if you need more, just check with Dan
Sure.
Durkee down at the
Yeah.
health services.
Don Lehman's wife also designed those.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get them out. They look great. So with that, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I would like a motion to adjourn our final meeting of 2021. The motion is made by Supervisor Bramer. It is seconded by Supervisor Hogan. All those in favor? Good morning. I'd like to call our final meeting for the year at 10 o'clock to order. If I could please ask Supervisor Garrity to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Allen, if you would do the roll call, please.
Mr. Conover?
Here.
Mr. Leggett?
Here.
Mr. Diamond?
Here.
Mr. McDevitt?
Here.
Ms. Bramer?
Here.
Mr. Bruno?
Here.
Mr. Driscoll?
Here.
Mrs. Frazier?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Hogan?
Here.
Mr. Dickinson?
Here.
Mr. Merlino?
Here.
Mr. Stroud?
Here.
Mr. Wild?
Here.
Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Mr. Beatty?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Ms. Shepler?
Here.
Mr. Garrity?
Here.
Chairwoman Seaver?
Present.
Quorum is established.
Thank you. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 19th board meeting, which is subject to correction by the clerk of the board? That motion is made by Supervisor Thomas, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? That passes. Thank you. At this point in time, I would like to invite Supervisors Beatty and Supervisors Bramer to please come up and present our Employee of the Month this year. And if I could ask Kim Ross from the Board of Elections to please join us up front. Just have to say that I'm proud, happy, that Kim is being recognized. You take great pride in her job and serving the voters. It's great. We're happy to have her.
And I'd like to reiterate that if I could, Kim is our Deputy Commissioner at Board of Elections. She does a great job. She's a great resource for anyone who has questions, especially me. And I thank her for always being there. Thank you, Kim.
Congratulations, Kim.
Thank you.
This is always one of my most favorite certificates to be able to present. And today I would ask Supervisor Conover to please join Amy Clute as we present graduates of the Warren County Safety Certificate Program. And Amy, if I could have you come up, and I will actually have you call each person up and by name, and we can recognize them all. And here's my mic.
We'll start today with Mark Lambert from the city of Glens Falls. Mark, congratulations. How about Rob Gerard from the city of Glens Falls? You can stay here. We'll do a picture after. Jeff Ingley from our Warren County DPW at the Fish Hatchery. From Buildings and Grounds, we did a special custodial certificate, and we have 2 graduates from our department, our custodial department. Brenda Hilton, if you would come up. And also Lorna Myhill from Buildings and Grounds.
Wide angle, Don.
If, Chairwoman, if I could.
Please.
Is this on? Is this on? Yeah. I just wanted to take a moment and say a special mention. Obviously, every month we talk about how important it is that these employees are dedicated to our safety programs. But I wanted to mention Glens Falls DPW as they're leaving. In 2020, the Glens Falls DPW reported 0 workers' comp claims to Warren County. 0 employees. That's the bar for the rest of you. Happy holidays. Thanks for your time for doing this for us. And we'll see y'all next year.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you to all of you once again. That's a rigorous training process, and we certainly appreciate how hard you worked on that. This month, we do not have any leadership training certificates to present, but I am told we have quite a few employees who are very close to graduating. We look forward to doing that in January. At this point in time, I'd like to declare a public hearing on a proposed local law number 10 of 2021. This is entitled A Local Law of the County of Warren, New York, repealing local laws 3 of 2015, 2 of 2016, and 3 of 2016, and prohibiting the use and sale of sparkling devices in Warren County. At this point in time, I would request that the clerk of the board read the notice of the public hearing out loud.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Warren, New York is considering the adoption of a proposed local law number 10 for the year 2021 entitled A Local Law of the County of Warren, New York, repealing local laws 3 of 2015, 2 of 2016, and 3 of 2016, and prohibiting the use and sale of sparkling devices in Warren County. The purpose of the local law is to repeal prior local laws of Warren County allowing for the sale and use of sparkling devices and adopt a new local law prohibiting the sale and use of such devices in Warren County. Notice is further given that pursuant to resolution number 476 of 2021 adopted by the Board of Supervisors on November 19th, 2021, 2 public hearings will be offered to allow for public comment. The first through a special meeting of the Governmental Operations and Advocacy Committee to be held on December 15th, 2021 at 7 p.m. And the second during the next regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors to be held on December 17th, 2021 at 10 a.m. Both in the Supervisors' rooms at the Warren County Municipal Center, 1340 State Route 9, Queensboro, New York, 12845. That's wrong. At which time and places, all persons interested in the matter of such proposed local law number 10 for the year 2021 will be heard concerning same. A copy of said local law is available for inspection during regular business hours by contacting the clerk of the Board of Supervisors at the above stated address and may be viewed on the Warren County website. All of the written comments that we've received are in the packets on your desks.
Thank you. So at this point in time, we'd like to invite anyone from the public that is here to speak on this issue or perhaps on YouTube that have sent in comments. We've provided all of the written comments and electronic copies to members of the board. We also had a public hearing 2 nights ago where we had several people come and speak on this issue as well. It is not during this time that we'll answer any questions, but we certainly will be bringing this up for debate under resolutions. Is there anyone at the public wishing to be heard on this matter here today? Yes, if you would please take the podium and state your name.
Good morning. My name is Chris Washburn. I'm here under Keystone Fireworks out of Pennsylvania. We have several tents around this area, mortars, brick and mortar residents. I started with this company, I think 7 years ago, and it's just grown. With COVID, it's been very, very tough, but this is an uprising and it's something that lifts people up. You know, we've seen over and over and over how different things change and how everything kind of goes into a bucket, I call it. I started, like I said, I was a 10 operator. I moved into a route manager. I went from a route manager and now I'm in charge of all Eastern New York. I have several. We have 3 tents and 1 brick and mortar, as I said, in Warren County. You know, abolishing this, I understand. I understand what's going on, and I get the complaints. But we've seen this, and we've seen where it just your adjoining counties, it's just going to push, you know, their revenue up, and it's not ever going to stop. It's not going. The complaints, you know, we've seen it where we go by local and state fire codes. We go by everything that we put in our tents, and we talk to everybody that comes in our tents, and we tell them, you know, be nice to your neighbor. You can do it and do it and do it. What we are seeing a lot more is out-of-state fireworks. Everybody that brings these in, now these are high flyers. These aren't your 10 to 15 feet. These are your high bangs. These are the ones that you see all over. And unfortunately, that's under our control too. We can't control that. We control our sparklers. We put them out. You know, I just think that this, I think it was Wednesday was the last meeting, and I listened in, and you know, I agree with that. I think I spoke to the owner of our company, and he's big time in the grants too. You know, maybe putting out a brochure and telling these people, you know, the law is going to watch you. You know, at a certain time at night, we have, you know, a noise ordinance. As far as I know, I don't believe that's even in anymore. I think it's anytime during the day or night. You know, if it's just a matter of fact that everybody coming out of town or out of state, if they go across lines, they're going to bring them in. If it's here, you know, it's not only just, you know, sufficing the animals, which I'm a dog owner. I know you don't like them either, but you know, we utilize them and put them away. And then it's just a thing that I think that if we can just generate a simple plan to get everybody in the same coordinates of saying, listen, you can't fire these off at a certain morning. It may work, it may not. You know, it's all up to the individuals that are buying these. It's the same thing anywhere it goes along. You know, Albany County, they squashed theirs, and it pushed Schenectady. It pushed all theirs to just magnify, and the people still in Albany County are still firing them off because they're still into that point where they just go across, they buy them, they bring them back. It's just the thing of if we could generate a way, you know, to put it in so that, listen, you can't do this, you know, it may not help. It will push up, you know, the landlords of our brick and mortars and the properties where we put our tents. This is going to hurt them. This is going to hurt the individuals that are local that help and they run our tents. I see this all over Eastern New York, you know, and it's just a great thing. I know, I just wish I had numbers. We have certain numbers, but like I said, we stay right with, you know, the laws of what they tell us to do from each county, and we abide by them, you know, and I'm hoping that everybody can just kind of factor out that, you know, no matter what we're going to do, these individuals that don't want to listen, they're just not going to listen. It ain't going to matter. So I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and thank you for your time this morning. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Morning, everybody. My name is Gary Thornquist, 10 Masters Common, North Queensbury. I'm also the general manager of the Lake George RV Park, which is just a half mile from here on Route 149. A few points I wanted to make on the fireworks. Basically, of course, we're against the sale of fireworks in Warren County. The issues we've run into in the past few years since they've become legal, we're private property. We prohibit them in our park. It's put our employees in a tough situation of enforcement. The guests that come to us from other states, other counties, they don't realize that they are not allowed in our park. We've had to distribute flyers, which they don't read. We've had trouble enforcing. We've had over $10,000 worth of property damage from our tennis courts, pickleball courts, kids shooting them off at night. It's impossible to enforce. And it puts our employees in a bad position of enforcement. We're seeing that, obviously everybody knows now with the mask mandate, that's a problem. This is a problem as well on top of everything else of trying to convince guests who see these pop-up tents literally, within 1,000 feet of our park at the outlet centers popped up. Why can't we use them? Oh, that would be fun to do. It's created quite a problem in our park. We are a dog-friendly park as well. It terrorizes all the dogs in the park. We've had dogs get out of RVs, have to go find the dogs, distraught guests, and finally, I've had to evict 2 different families in the past 2 years for their use of fireworks and basically kick them out of the park because their kids were shooting them off from our property and were caught doing so. And that, again, that's not the message we want to have here for tourism. That's not what we're promoting here. We're also not promoting pop-up tents that come up everywhere around the area in certain times of the year. I don't think that's the tourism product we're trying to promote here. I don't see it happen any other time of the year. So from a business standpoint, it's been detrimental to our business, continues to be. I wonder, I haven't seen, maybe figures have come out, what the actual benefit to Warren County is with the sales tax collected. But my guess is most of the profits go to businesses from out of state or out of county. I don't think there's any, maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's our local fireworks businesses here. But I'm guessing the profits are going out of the county. So I'd be interested to see what the actual benefit in sales tax is as opposed to the amount we spend on enforcement. And the final point to the tourism picture is that it'd be different if we didn't have fireworks shows every single night around here. Bolton's got fireworks, Great Escape has fireworks, Lake George has fireworks, good quality, safe shows that our guests can go to see. They really don't need to be shooting fireworks off at their campsite around trees and around, pine needles and everything else. I just don't see the reason why the county needs this. Yes, if someone really wants fireworks, really wants to do them, they can travel to another county. That's fine and buy them there. We can't control that, but we're putting these fireworks right in the face of outside visitors that really don't understand what they're doing. They see them, they say, this is great. Let's get some of these. Let's bring them back to the campsite. Let's bring them back to the hotel. I know a lot of other businesses aren't here, but I've talked to a lot of other businesses that are having the same issues in trying to control this situation. And honestly, in today's day and age, we just don't need another issue that we have to control needlessly. So, I mean, from a business standpoint, it just doesn't, it's a hassle for us. It's something we build up to every year. We know there's going to be friction. We know there's going to be problems. And bottom line, why are we putting all these dollars? I've raised money myself for the Lake George fireworks over the years through the chamber and tried to get those shows going. I mean, why are we putting money into, sponsoring fireworks shows, inviting people to fireworks shows through the Warren County Tourism Department, and then saying, well, you could have your own fireworks show, in a place that really isn't a good place to have it. The residences, it's something different. As a resident here in Queensbury, and a pet owner myself, I don't know any other way to put it. It's animal cruelty. We wouldn't condone animal cruelty in any other part of our county, but we do it on the 4th of July. I haven't seen a dog that isn't scared of fireworks. It doesn't cower in the corner for hours. I don't know any other way to put it. It's animal cruelty and it should stop. I understand some points from some of the fireworks companies. It's good business for them. I understand they're, trying to employ some employees on a temporary basis. I get that. We have trouble finding employees on a temporary basis for the summer. Again, maybe some of those employees could come to us as part of the businesses that are struggling here in the county to find good employees. So those are the points I wanted to make. I appreciate your time. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard here today in person? Mr. Lehman, do we have any comments on YouTube?
Good morning, Chairwoman Seaver. No fireworks related comments on YouTube.
Great, thank you very much. At this point in time, I'll close the public hearing on local law number 10 of 2021. At this point in time, we will declare our public hearing open on proposed local law 1 of 2022, entitled "A Local Law Fixing the Salaries of Certain County Officers and Employees of Warren County." And I'll request that the clerk of the board read the notice of the public hearing out loud.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Warren, New York is considering the adoption of a proposed local law number 1 for the year 2022 entitled "A Local Law Fixing the Salaries of Certain County Officers and Employees of Warren County." Notice is further given that pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Board of Supervisors on November 19th, 2021, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Supervisors on December 17th, 2021 at 10 a.m. in the Supervisors' Rooms at the Warren County Municipal Center, 1340 State Route 9, Queensbury, New York, at which time and place all persons interested in the matter of such proposed local law number 1 of the year 2022 will be heard concerning same. A copy of said local, local law is available for inspection during regular business hours by contacting the clerk of the Board of Supervisors at the above stated address and may be viewed on the Warren County website. We have not received any public written comment on this.
Thank you. Is there anyone here wishing to be heard on the matter in person? And hearing none, Don Lehman, is there anyone on YouTube that has indicated they'd like to be heard?
We have no additional comment on YouTube.
Thank you very much. Hearing none at this point in time, we'll close that public hearing. We'll move on to reports by committee chairs. Before I have my committee or my chair report for the year, there are 2 items that I would like to address first. First and foremost, we have been fortunate this year to work with 2 incredible public servants, women on this board who have spoke loud and clear, advocated for their communities. It only seems appropriate at this point in time that we recognize both of their efforts. First, I would like to ask Supervisor Scheffler, we wanted to present you with a small token of our appreciation on behalf of the board. And because I know that you are neighbors with Supervisor Garrity and you work closely together, I will ask that Supervisor Garrity please present you with this token of appreciation on behalf of our board. If you would both please come forward. Supervisor Scheffler, did you want to say anything?
Basically, it's just been an honor and a pleasure serving with the board, and I wish everybody a happy, healthy New Year and a very Merry Christmas. Thank you for this. I appreciate it.
Supervisor Smith, if you would join me in the front of the room, I would certainly appreciate it. Supervisor Smith, it has been my pleasure to work with you throughout this year, and I'm so grateful that the year I was able to chair, you were able to represent Oregon. And I have learned so much about your community. I've enjoyed learning more about your Food Truck Fridays, the immense draw to tourism that you provide, and your leadership throughout the entire county. I'm grateful for your service, but also for the friendship I've been able to establish with you. Thank you for your hard work on behalf of this entire board. And I will just say this clock says best wishes and sincere appreciation to Sylvia Smith for your dedicated service to the residents of Warren County. Congratulations.
right.
I'd like to thank everybody for working closely with me and helping me and mentoring me through. Thank you for allowing me to speak how I feel and agree to disagree. And I wish that you all move forward in a positive and professional way. And that's my wish for the county board here in Warren County. So thanks.
Typically at this time, I would share with you a detailed report highlighting the countless activities, events, committee meetings, and correspondence that as chair of our board, I've participated in during the month of December. However, this is our final meeting for 2021. During perhaps the most challenging year we have ever experienced as a board, this report warrants a very different approach. I cannot begin to express what an honor it has been to serve Warren County as your chairwoman over the last year, to serve as an employee here with Warren County 21 years ago as a crime victims advocate, and now to serve as the first chairwoman in the history of our board, and no less during a pandemic, will forever provide me with an incredible appreciation for the strength of the people of Warren County. I have been fortunate to have represented our county at a local, a state, and a national level in 2021. We have partnered with New York State on numerous occasions, and not just once, but twice we've established a mass vaccination site here in Queensbury and the first ever pilot program for testing and vaccinations in New York. I am so proud of the team assembled before us today, the leadership of our committee chairs, the hard work tackled by committee members, the several special committees that we have created to address emerging issues, the unwavering commitments of our department heads, the tireless efforts of all of our incredible employees, our unbreakable and resilient business partners, and our fearless not-for-profit organizations. Together with every resident in our community, we are indeed Warren County strong. As chairwoman this year, I have prioritized our appreciation on behalf of the 11 towns in the city which we represent to our employees and our community partners. I have often referred to this as the year of gratitude. I have sent over 1,500 letters of appreciation, adopted 26 proclamations, including our first ever Tri-County proclamation. We have recognized dozens of employees completing leadership and training programs, and we have presented nearly 50 Warren County Strong certificates of excellence and created the very first formal bipartisanship leadership team on the Board of Supervisors. I have asked a lot of each and every one of you this year. I've watched many of you come together for the greater good and with a sole mission to serve our community as we respond during these challenging times, as we grieve with those who have lost their loved ones, as we honor those who have fought on the front lines, and as we have shown respect and gratitude to those who have moved into a well-deserved retirement. As a board, we have updated long overdue policies and procedures, perhaps most notably overhauling our outdated ethics law and creating a functioning and effective Board of Ethics, placing priority in our conduct as representatives of this great county. We are a stronger county together as we end 2021, and yet perhaps our greatest challenges are still before us. Today marks my final meeting of 2021 as your chairwoman of the Warren County Board of Supervisors, and I am following the example of leadership that took place here on January 8th by many members of this board who enthusiastically embrace change, new leadership, vision, energy, hope, and a shared goal to serve our community to the best of our abilities. It has been my privilege this year to serve and to advocate for the people of Warren County as your chairwoman. With that, I would like to move on to our final committee reports of the year. Supervisor Beatty.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairwoman Sieber. I'd like to thank you for giving us an outstanding year of leadership despite some obstacles. It was a pleasure serving with you as your vice chair and chairman of the Finance Committee and Government Ops Committee. I'd like to thank Minority Leader Claudia Bramer. I believe we've met 150 times. 150 times to make sure that things get ironed out beforehand so that bumps in the road and obstructionists are overcome. And through, whether it's lunch meetings, just individual meetings, phone calls, I don't think I've ever talked to anybody more in my life in 1 year than you, Claudia. So thank you for being accommodating and very, very professional. Okay, government ops met on November 22nd. There's one resolution in there in your package, and that will be on the fireworks law that we'll be voting on. It'll be a roll call vote, I believe. And that's the only thing that came out of government ops. We did have a public meeting this past Wednesday, of which we had, I think, 6 commentators speak about the law, both for and against it. And I appreciate them coming out. 1 or 2 came out again today, and I appreciate that input from the public. And it'll be debated, obviously voted on today in committee or on the board. Finance met on December 2nd. That's 41, let me say that again, 41 resolutions. Now, your Christmas present from me to you, I'm not going to read them. I think everybody can read in the room. Everybody's hopefully done their homework. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, or we have Assistant Treasurer Rob in the room. So you're more than welcome to ask us. But I'm not going to spend your holiday season reading 41 resolutions to you. So at this point, I'd like to ask Rob if he has any comments from the Treasury Department.
Okay, I have nothing new to report, but I just want to state that sales tax is still going strong. Currently, we're 9.6 million above last year. So hopefully we'll continue that through the rest of the year. We have 3 more payments that will be coming due. That's all I have.
Thank you, Rob. That's a excellent, obviously, numbers report, but as Rob and Mike always caution us, wait until the final numbers come in, because the state often does some, I won't say funny things, but they seem to take some of our sales tax money at the end. So although it sounds great right now, 9.6 million ahead, I'm not sure if that's where we'll end up. Thank you, Rob. That's going to conclude my report. Again, I'm letting everyone read their own finance, 41 resolutions to this.
Vice Chair Beatty, I was notified this morning that there was a potential for someone to speak regarding one of your items on your agenda. I'm not so sure that's taking place at this point or not.
There's an individual who wanted to speak who had made a bid on the Mullins property and would like to just have 30 seconds of our time. I don't know if he's here or not. I don't
think he's here yet. So we'll wait until privilege of the floor then a little bit later. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman. And I will echo the thanks to you for all of your communication this year, as well as collaboration and your great ability to share successes with us, as well as working through challenges as a team. It has been really great working with your leadership team, and I really appreciate, as well as Supervisor Beatty. I'm not sure it's been 150, but it has been a lot of meetings and phone calls trying to work through issues, and
too many. No.
not too many, but certainly my family knew when it was a call from Supervisor Beatty, it might be a little bit interesting. So I do want to say thank you also to the other supervisors. We've had a lot of interesting conversations throughout the year, and I appreciate all of your sincerity and speaking your mind. Thank you. I also want to say thank you to the department heads and the personnel committee. All of them worked tirelessly throughout the year. You guys have no idea. Some people, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that our department heads are doing for us. And a lot of times we do not appreciate them enough. So I want to give my gratitude to all of those department heads. We do also, from personnel, have many resolutions in your packet. I am not going to read them all either. It's 571 through 581. I do want to call out specifically, there's 2 for Amy Clute, who is asking to be an officer in 2 of her state associations. I think it's pretty amazing that she's so well-respected professional in her area of expertise throughout the state, and we should honor that. So I ask for your support on those two. There is another Resolution 571 regarding salaries of certain individuals in the county. And at the appropriate time, I would like to ask for an amendment to 571 regarding our real property director, who also does an amazing job with her tasks throughout the county, including her service to all of the towns in their real property matters. Also, as chair of the Special Committee on Septic, we did have a resolution 547 come out to extend the special committee through the end of 2022. And I would ask for all of your support on that resolution as well. Thank you, Chairman. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Supervisor Conover.
Thank you. I was out of state on November 23rd and did not chair the Public Works Committee, but Supervisor Hogan did. And so I would ask that my time be turned over to Supervisor Hogan for any comments that she might have on resolutions 554 through 565. Andrea?
Thank you, Chairman, excuse me, thank you, Supervisor Conover. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you. And thanks, Supervisor Conover. I just ask for your support on all of the resolutions. If you have any questions, we're here to answer them, but please support them. The committee considered them deliberately.
Thank you, Supervisor Hogan. Does that conclude your report, Supervisor Conover?
Just one other item, just for information. I think we've got some good early Christmas news. Kevin, if you could, with permission from the chair, if Kevin could come to the podium just to make an announcement on a grant that apparently we applied for and have received.
Superintendent Hayes, would you mind joining us at the podium? Thank you.
So as you're all aware, each year, New York State DOT puts out the Bridge New York and Culvert New York projects. We actually went after 4 culvert projects and one bridge project. We only received 2. One of them was for Peaceful Valley Road up in Johnsburg, which was for $1 million for a culvert replacement. And the other one was in the town of Queensbury for a culvert replacement, which was also $1 million. So we were awarded basically $2 million for 2 Bridge New York projects this year, culvert projects. So.
Excellent. Job well done. Thank you very much. Supervisor Conover.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Public safety met in the month of November. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, but I want to thank Supervisor McGowan for chairing that particular meeting. Resolutions 548 through 553 are pretty standard resolutions. They are in front of you today. I'm asking the full board to consider it and approve those resolutions. I'm not going to read them out loud today, but I think they're self-explanatory. What I would like to ask or mention at this point in time is special thanks to Supervisors Shepler, Frazier, Bramer, McGowan, members of my committee this past year. I've enjoyed immensely working with you people, and I think that we have taken on some challenges and we've moved the county in the right direction. So again, thank you very much for your cooperation and your help. Madam Chair, when it comes time, I'd like to speak to Resolution 572 when the opportunity occurs. So again, thank you very much for everybody's help. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Diamond. Supervisor Dickinson.
No report.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you for the inspiring message earlier this morning. The 541, 542, 543, and 544 relate to countryside. 545 and 546 relate to Department of Social Services. I ask you for your support of those resolutions. I'd like to highlight a couple of the Finance Committee resolutions that relate to Cornell Cooperative Extension. Those are resolution 602 and 603.
as well as ask for your support of 601, which relates to the city of Glens Falls. With your permission, I've put in front of your place settings a letter from addressed to Dr. Jim Seeley at Cornell Cooperative Extension. Earlier this week, we all should have received a congratulations letter from Chairwoman Sieber, but this is in regard to confirmation of accreditation of Cornell Cooperative Extension for, I believe it's a 5-year period, and they passed with glowing colors, requirements, governance, program, staffing, HR, finance, system communications, and accountability. And we talk a lot about our investments and return on investments on as it relates to tourism and special events, but this is certainly validation that an investment in Cornell Cooperative Extension is money well spent. And I, again, congratulate all of those individuals. And I'd just like to also take a brief moment to thank and congratulate a longtime City of Glens Falls employee, Bob Curtis, who's been both a friend, a constituent of mine for a number of years when I served on the city council, and the last 4 years on the Board of Supervisors, on his upcoming retirement after 37 years of serving the city, the last 27 years as the clerk. I know we have a lot of good municipal clerks in Warren County. I don't, maybe I'm being a little bit biased, but I don't think there's any better than Bob Curtis. And he's certainly, I think he served under a number of mayors, council people, and really exemplifies the true meaning of a civil servant. Politics isn't part of his game plan. He leaves that at the door when he hits the time clock. And again, I'd like to congratulate him on his retirement. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Frazier.
Yes, I was unable to attend last month's meeting as I was on knee surgery, but Mr. McDevitt very kindly ran the meeting, and so he's just going to give the report on the meeting. So thank you. And thank you, Mr. McDevitt. I appreciate that.
Welcome back, Supervisor Frazier. I'm glad you're feeling better. Supervisor McDevitt.
Thank you very much. Edna, thank you very much. I hope your rehab is going well. Yesterday, President Biden urged the unvaccinated to get the vaccine and the booster shot. The unvaccinated face a winter of severe illness. Warren County has recently lost a teenager to COVID. The positive work of our Warren County Health Department goes on to encourage the unvaccinated to get vaccinated. Their cause endures. Their Christmas message is very clear. Get vaccinated. Give your family and loved ones a Christmas gift, a vaccination. Merry Christmas to all, and I would appreciate your support on resolutions 532 through 540, all public health issues related. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Garrity.
Yes, tourism met a couple times this past month. We have resolutions 566 to 570. Intermunicipal agreements with Lake George Village, CVB of Lake George, Catamac Color, and the Adirondack Civic Center Coalition. I ask that we support all those. Also, the committee had a second meeting and awarded $458,500 in Oxy tax awards for this part of 2021. So I thank everybody for their hard work. I thank everybody at the tourism committee. Certainly was not without challenges this year, revamping the application forms. And the events held in Warren County did very well, and that's a partnership with all the business community. So we appreciate that moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I am suffering from some cold symptoms, I hope. And so out of respect for all of you, I'm zooming into this meeting today. Economic Growth and Development met on November 22nd. We have Resolution 528 and Resolutions 591 through 595 for you. I hope you'll support them all. I also wanted to point out that this year in the Consolidated Funding Awards, Warren County did very, very well. We received quite a bit of grant money through this medium. I want to thank Wayne Lamoth and his team for all of their hard work. I also want to thank Beth Gillies and the Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board for all that they've done to help garner some of this money for Warren County. And I want to congratulate Warren County Soil and Water for their success in grant writing through the CFA process. I also want to recognize another factor at play here. Even though there was tremendous turmoil at the state in the government, Warren County Board of Supervisors, guided by careful messaging from our chair, stayed focused on the issues at hand. Rachel took tremendous pains to have a good relationship with the state. And I believe that the work that she did and that this board did over the past year contributed to our success in this grant seeking. As we go forward, I want to urge us to continue in this same vein and follow the lead that she established this year. These grants are important to all of our communities, and we need to stay focused on Warren County and the people in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hogan. Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Chairwoman Sieber, and thank you for your service this year as chair up there. It's been quite a year and you've done a great job. Thank you. Criminal Justice met last month. We have one resolution in front of you, number 527. It's from Probation, and in regards to alternative sentencing program to serve youth and adults for Warren County Department of Probation, and awarding that agreement to Warren Hamilton County Action Committee for Economic Opportunity. Our probation department is making great strides on reaching out to vulnerable individuals within our community that need good direction, and that takes a tremendous amount of partnership, and this is one of the programs they do. I'd also like to point out that Look TV on Look this week on 12/13/21 interviewed Amy Secor, who is in charge of the Y Connects program. I encourage everybody to get on there, take a look at it, see what she has to say. She does an excellent job on describing this partnership that the probation department has with many of the organizations within the county to be able to serve our youth and get them going into a good direction. Compliments to Director Yusi and Amy Secor for pulling this together and all of the probation department. Also, would just like to, a little point of information here. Last week, there was Adirondack Associations of Towns and Villages meeting, and I was seated as a board member at large. I get to sit with Supervisor Garrity, who represents Warren County on the AATV. And I also want to say that the man that sat in this seat for 24 years started the ATV, and I'm very proud to continue that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Leggett. Congratulations on your appointment. We're proud to have you represent us. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Supervisor Leggett, I do want to congratulate you. I know we've talked about that, and I am very proud to have you representing him, and I stand behind you on that, and thank you. On that note, for Supervisor Diamond, thank you for allowing me to run your meeting once. You had the faith in me. I appreciate it, for being your vice chair, but it was an honor to work under you and your leadership, and I really do appreciate that. It was brought up to me. It was just a couple things, breezed right through it. It was a little longer than that, but I did enjoy it, and it was nice. But for county facilities, we didn't have too much. We don't seem to be reading them. It was really just some minor housework stuff. So everybody can read it. If anybody has any questions, they're more than happy to speak up. But otherwise, we'll keep going on. The biggest thing was on the weights and measures. And we went over it. Looking at the numbers, they're very low. And for all the work that goes into it. And I thought, and I've talked about this before, and it was brought, so I hope everybody can stand behind 526. I also want to thank Chairwoman Seaver. This past year, it's been really such an honor to have you as a chairperson. And I have grown immensely from it, and people have probably seen it with me, voicing up a little bit more. But I came on 4 years ago, and I was a little green, and I really spoke up the first couple meetings. I was quiet for a year, and then I started to get my feet under. But Chairwoman Seaver, you have given me the strength, the confidence to stand up, to believe more in what we're trying to do. And there was an article that I read that was very good, and it was lengthy, but the two main things of politics across the nations, there are two types of politicians. There's we the people and the I, and I definitely know where you are at. So once again, thank you for a wonderful year.
Thank you.
That's all my report.
Thank you, Supervisor McGowan. Supervisor Merlino.
Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman. Operations and management, I want you all to start praying for some cold weather. Otherwise, that castle is not going to be built until April. But with that said, there's a couple of things with snowmobile. There's a bunch of resolutions. I know you all support them. We need the snowmobile to snow for snowmobilers this year also. Resolution in there for reservation rail. I'm happy to see that. I all worked on that one. And the one going to use some property of the railroad in Hadley to connect Saratoga County with Warren County. So with that, that's the end of my speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I'd like to report is on Monday, December 13th, the Joseph Warren Center Building Committee met with Thomas Sabrini from Chazen, which is now going to become Lobella. And we discussed the house and the project. And after the first of the year, we'll be moving forward, hopefully quickly. Other than that, that's my report.
Thank you. County Administrator Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, supervisors. Good morning, everybody. I'd first like to acknowledge, as we do each month, the significant anniversary of this one, 35 years, very, very impressive for Diane Labruzzo in the Treasurer's Office. Thank you, Diane, for your commitment and your hard work on behalf of the residents of Warren County, and we appreciate your service. I do have some housekeeping items to address this morning. We have 5 floor resolutions. Floor resolution number 1 is to waive the rule requiring the resolution to come through committee for floor resolution 2. This is a request from the county treasurer. We, as you all know, have a significant plan in place to bond for our road projects next year, as well as we have costs for Countryside Adult Home and the Bolton retaining wall for the bridge over on the road that leads out to the Sagamore. We're bonding all of that hopefully early next year. And I believe that the approval of the bond council was inadvertently missed by the treasurer's office. So the treasurer has requested that this come to the floor today. This is a law firm that the treasurer has used in the past for bond counsel. He's comfortable with their services, thinks they did a good job in the past. And I believe the amount is capped at $4,000, not to exceed a total of $4,500. That's the second to last resolved paragraph. So those are floor resolutions number 1 and number 2. Floor resolution number 3 is the waiving of the rules for numbers 4 and 5. And let me walk you through numbers 4 and 5. These are budget amendments for the health department. First and foremost, they provide appropriations for the payout that is authorized by Resolution 576 today. That resolution went through the Personnel Committee. That specified 3 of the leadership individuals in public health who have not yet been able to take off time that they have earned. They have time in some cases carrying over from 2020. And the decision was made and the resolution was advanced by the Personnel Committee to pay these individuals out for time that they still have that they're not able to roll over into next year. It's 3 employees. It's essentially the Director of Public Health and the 2 deputies. One of the deputies, of course, is for the CHA and the other is for the remaining public health functions. Now, there are 4 areas of payment here. They're getting paid for their vacation time and their floating holiday time. That's one bucket. And the second bucket, if you will, is their personal time and their days in lieu of. So here are the funding sources. So that first bucket, vacation and floating holiday, 50% of the wage payout is going to be from state aid, and 50% of the wage payout will be from ARPA. And all of the fringe associated with those payments, which is the FICA, that'll be covered by ARPA. For the second bucket, the personal time and the days in lieu of, 50% of the wage payout is state aidable. The remainder is the county portion. ARPA will not cover the personal time and the day in lieu of. And then the associated fringe with that payout is also county. The state aid doesn't cover fringe. It only covers a salary. So what does that mean in dollars? So these resolutions, let me go back. Resolution number 4 appropriates all of the funds that are covered by state aid and ARPA. And those amounts add up to $20,545.47 for state aid and $19,726.81 for ARPA. The next resolution, draw your attention to 4 lines in it. The top line, health services salaries regular, the $5,470. That's the salary piece of what I just mentioned that the county would pick up. And then the associated fringe with that, scroll down 1, 2, 3, 4 lines to the 1643. That's the retirement associated with that $5,470. And then scroll down to the $678 for Social Security and $158 for Medicare. Those 2 lines, if you add them together, are the FICA. So that adds up to $7,950.63. That's the entire county share. So the total amount that we're appropriating to make this to fund this resolution is $48,781.90, and as I said, $7,950 from the county. The remainder of floor resolution number 5, that's just year-end transfers in order to make sure that all of the accounts end up in the black for purposes of the audit. Typically, that request would have come earlier, would have gone through committee earlier, but it was something that public health, and sympathy for everything they're doing, public health lost track of it. So we're bringing those today to make sure that, and it's this resolution floor number 5 is just shifting money around within the public health budget, money that's already there. Okay. So floor resolution 5 is just transferring funds. Floor resolution 4 is adding funds that are reimbursable by the state and the federal government. If that didn't make any sense, I'd be happy to answer questions on it at the appropriate time. Okay, we are on day 5 of the state mask mandate, and it seems to be going well so far, at least, you know, at the county. I see a lot of mask wearing. Thank you to all those who have done so. Many counties this week have commented on the enforceability of the mask mandate. You know, and the sheriffs, our sheriff has viewed this not differently from other sheriffs. And our sheriff's department has been fairly consistent throughout the pandemic that mask violations, the sheriff is primarily concerned with penal law, vehicle and traffic law, and the mask violations do not fall under that umbrella. So the sheriff's department, the tactic that they've taken is that if a business needs their help with a customer who, so the businesses are coming up with with the protocols that they want in their business. And if they have customers that are difficult, where they have a situation where they have a conflict developing, the sheriff's office is there as a resource to help that business. So that's, you know, we don't want businesses to believe that they're hanging out there and doing this on their own. You're not. If you need the sheriff's department, you have the sheriff's department. We're here to help. Likewise for public health. Public health is being pulled in all kinds of different directions between vaccines and testing and contact tracing and isolations and quarantines. I have not heard any local public health department that believes they have the capability to be going around and doing these assessments and issuing these fines. But that doesn't mean that public health is not here to help. Public health will make calls, educational calls, to make, as they've done since the beginning of the pandemic, to make sure that every entity in this county understands their responsibilities under the state mask mandate. So why have these counties been talking about the difficulties in enforcement? It's really, it's to hammer home that this mask mandate is only going to be effective to the extent that the general public is persuaded that mask wearing is important. I certainly believe it is. And here are some of the reasons why, you know, I would consider masks to be important and why people should consider wearing them, even with the enforcement difficulties that is plainly obvious to anybody. I mean, you're stating the obvious that this is a difficult mandate to enforce. So why should people buy into it? Why should people wear masks? Why should people do the right thing? You know, as we've said multiple times throughout this year, it's not just about your ability to recover from COVID. It's about who you might transmit it to if you get it. You have to think about the weak people that are in your circle, your family members who are more susceptible, your friends, your coworkers who are more susceptible to severe illness. The CDC has identified a concerning national trend of increasing circulation of the Delta variant, and the Delta variant's about twice as transmissible as the original COVID. State DOH has determined that cases have risen tenfold since early July, and that 95% of the recent positives are all Delta variant. Delta variant is surging right now. We're seeing those numbers here in Warren County, and we have a new variant that's of concern, which is the Omicron variant, which has been detected in this state so far, not up here. And, you know, our numbers, Warren County's mid-December, COVID hospitalizations, our average daily new cases, our number of active cases, all of those metrics are about 4 times higher than they were at this time last year, 4 times higher. Glens Falls Hospital has very high COVID census, and it has led to the cancellation of elective surgeries. So we need to bring those numbers down. These numbers are putting a severe strain on our regional healthcare system, and that creates challenges caring for residents that have other health emergencies, that are having heart attacks, that are having strokes, that are having surgical emergencies. It's difficult for the hospital to handle this surge. It's putting a tremendous strain on the hospitals and the doctors. It's putting a tremendous strain on our health services department, which they have been soldiers And you can't say enough about what these people have done down there since the beginning. It is remarkable that they're still going as strong as they are. So using every tool at our disposal makes sense. We know that vaccines are the most valuable tool. Warren County consistently has done better than the state averages. And this morning we're a few points ahead in terms of the number of the percentage of our residents who are fully vaccinated. So we're very proud of that. We're proud to have the mass vaccination site, but masks is another tool to help. So this, everybody knows, this is a very difficult mandate to enforce, but we implore the public to understand why it's important and to do your part. Now, since the last board meeting on November 19th, just a quick update of my activities. On Sunday, the 21st, and subsequent days, we had conference calls with New York State to get that mass vaccination site set up. Again, we put a lot of work into it. It reopened December 1st, which was about a week and a half after we had these calls. So they stood it up very quickly, and we're very thankful for their efforts. Wednesday, the 24th, and Tuesday, the 30th, I held meetings with our insurance broker regarding the renewal. That's one of the resolutions that's on for today. On Tuesday, the 30th, I participated in a fact-finding meeting with Hunden, which is the company hired to do the assessment with the tourism department. On Friday, the 3rd, the New York State actually reinstituted the weekly regional COVID calls. So those have been happening on Fridays again. Also on Friday, the 3rd, I participated in a meeting with SUNY leadership regarding their financial priorities going forward. On Friday, the 11th, I participated most of the day with our new county attorney and Attorney Dickey in mediation for Forest Enterprises. On Monday, the 13th, Supervisor Thomas mentioned the Joseph Warren meeting already. Happy to participate in that. That's an exciting initiative. It's, for a history nerd like me, it's a welcome break sometimes during the day to do a Joseph Warren meeting. On Wednesday, the 15th, and also previously on Monday, the 6th, I participated in safety planning meetings, and I'll mention just briefly what we talked about. And yesterday, we held our final department head meeting of the year, which was a nice meeting, and I thank all the department heads for their hard work this year and last year, 2 very challenging years. And I have so much respect for what these leaders do and their tenacity, their intelligence, their abilities. We have great department heads here in Warren County. Now, on the safety planning, we're working with the self-insurance department, emergency services, IT, the sheriff's department, DPW, as well as members of the board of supervisors, including the chairwoman and the chair of public safety, the chair of facilities, to really take a hard look at what more we can do to secure our physical campus here, to secure our employees, to prepare for worst case scenarios when it comes to safety and make sure that we're doing all we can to avoid a tragedy. It's not a pleasant thing to think about, but it is something that we should be thinking about and preparing for. So some of the topics that we've discussed are doing a live shooter training facilitated by the Sheriff's Department, possibly sometime next year, making improvements to our security systems, including our panic buttons, our emergency notification technologies, perhaps magnetometers, our camera system, our buildings and grounds set up outside, as well as taking a look at all of our emergency plans and making sure that we improve them where they need to be improved and that all of our employees know what they are. Amy and Anne Marie conducted a tabletop exercise over the past couple of weeks to refresh on those policies and get that process moving. So this, I think, should be a priority next year to continue these initiatives and make sure that we're providing as safe a workplace as we can for all of us, for all of our employees. And I look forward to continuing in those efforts. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. County Attorney Alman.
Thank you. It's been a very interesting first month on the job. Thank you. And I wanted to provide the board information regarding a notification that the county received dated December 6th of 2021. It's a notification that was provided to the county under real property tax law section 487. It's a provision that I am sure no one in this room is familiar with. What it addresses is exemptions on certain forms and types of renewable energy activities within the county. Specifically, we received a notice of an intention for the construction of a solar energy system on a parcel of property located in the town of Queensbury. The reason I'm advising the entire board of this and not putting it through committee in January is state law in this particular section has a 60-day notice requirement to the county and any municipality where a solar energy system is going to be sited. And the purpose of that 60-day notification is for in this case, the county to make a determination on whether they're going to require a contract for the payment of a contract to pay taxes in lieu of the exemption. So specifically, the question which the county has 60 days to respond to is whether for this particular solar energy project, the county through the treasurer will enter into a contract which will require the payment of taxes, real property taxes for the property to the county as the value of the property existed before the improvements are made by building the solar energy system. Additionally, under this statute, the county has the ability to set by local law or by resolution what position they will take on all such projects into the future. That is an issue which I would, through committee, determine if there's an interest in pursuing as a policy going forward for the county. I am not aware that the county has addressed this issue before, based on conversations I've had with different stakeholders in the county. So this is, to some degree, I assume an issue of first impression, meaning I am not aware of any precedent at the county for requiring the payment of taxes in lieu or not responding to the letter and automatically having the exemption apply to this project. One fact that I do want to add is that the property where the solar energy system is being placed is an approximately 80-acre parcel that's located south of the county airport. And the parcel is owned by Forest Enterprises, Inc. So I am looking for any direction or hopefully a decision from the board on whether the county would, whether the board would like to try to run this through committee so that there's a decision made by this board prior to February 7th of 2022, which would be the 60-day last date to reply and respond that the county intends to have taxes collected from this parcel. Or if there's a consensus from the board as to whether no taxes should be collected from this parcel going forward. Bluntly, the concern is whether there's time to move this through committee in January for the board to consider in late January. So I felt it was important to make sure the board was aware of this issue for this property today. not sure if there's any questions I can answer from the floor.
Just for clarification purposes, County Attorney, the letter that you're referencing is dated December 6th, so it's within 60 days of the December 6th, correct?
Correct.
And we have a couple of options before us this morning. We do have a personnel meeting that is set on the agenda for December 30th to welcome our Board of Ethics members and to provide some training and discussion that day, which certainly we could add that onto the agenda with the consent of the chairwoman of personnel and handle it there. Or we could certainly put this on as a matter of business during our organizational meeting, or we can take discussion right now and make a decision. So those are the choices in front of us, Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I actually do have experience with this in my professional world, and what I've typically seen is that the municipality will respond and at least have the ability to negotiate later. We may not want to take further action after that, but I would suggest that we don't not respond, because otherwise it will be automatically exempt and we don't really have any say. I think that we could take that up today, take that position up today as a board. Or I can certainly add it to my agenda. I thought the meeting was the 29th.
It may very well
Thank you.
be.
Okay.
Thank you. Supervisor Bruno, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I agree with Supervisor Bramer. I think we should take this up today. Get it done. Sorry. I agree with Supervisor Bramer, and I think we should take this up today and get it at least established that, where we're going forward.
Okay. Very good. Other comments, Supervisor Leggett?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. This is something that has come up before the Warren County, Washington County IDA as well on granting pilots to the solar energy systems and what to do. And Washington County had a particular view on it. I think it's good for Warren County to develop a view on it as well. And without more information, though, pilots tend to have a period where they start coming online and valuation at full amount at some point in time. I'm not sure if these energy systems that pilots are set up the same way or not, or if it just stays on top of the base value. I think it's worth a discussion. I would agree with Supervisor Bramer that a response sooner than later is possible. If it was to go to committee, I would say that would go through economic growth, development, and planning.
Okay, thank you very much. If you please give me one moment. Without objection, I think then at this point, the consensus seems to be to talk about that today. Perhaps we can add that on as an off the floor resolution that we can discuss at that point in time, so we can continue with business. Is that acceptable with you, County?
That's totally acceptable, but to quickly answer the question, it's a 15-year exemption so long as the facility continues to operate under the same purposes during that entire 15 years. At some point, if it stops operating as that solar energy system, it then comes back, the exemption comes off the property for that value.
Okay, very good. Well, without getting into too much further discussion, as it looks like it will be a resolution for us to discuss today, we'll continue moving on and bring that back up under discussion at the time of resolutions. County Attorney, would you like to continue your report?
Yes. During the past month, I had an opportunity to dive into and carefully review resolution number 337 of 2020, which was approving revisions to the Warren County Workplace Violence Prevention Plan and Program to include reviewing the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan and Program that was put in place by this board September 18th of 2020. As part of that review, I did note that that version of the plan was the 5th version enacted by the county, and that it was enacted under Labor Law Section 27B, which governs protections for employees of public employers. So public employees that are employed in by a public employer such as the county. It also provides for 3 threat levels for workplace violence. All 3 threat levels deal with and address employee-focused violence, meaning a threat from an outside individual upon a public employee, a threat by an individual who's receiving services from the county upon a public employee, or another public employee, or a relative of that public employee, or somebody related to that public employee, creating a threat upon other public employees. The reason I bring this up is in my review of that resolution and in reviewing some of the enforcement provisions that are provided for in the policy, I was unable to identify a specific process or procedure that would be used in any situation or case where there is a claim of workplace violence that's filed at the county involving a threat to a public employee. Specifically, if there were a complaint filed under this policy and an investigation occurs, it's not clear who would make a final determination in that investigation in all circumstances. With that portion said in the public comment portion, at this point, I would ask the committee, I would ask the board if there's an opportunity to go into executive session to address 2 topics. Specifically, I would be looking to go into executive session to address under Public Officers Law 105F, any matters that are leading to employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, and to address specifics of an ongoing investigation under the Warren County Workplace Violence and Prevention Plan and Program. The second item for executive session would be under Public Officers Law 105D, and that would be to discuss and give a brief update to the entire board on the litigation involving Forest Industries.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to move into executive session? That motion is made by Supervisor Driscoll, seconded by Supervisor Bruno. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If we could please just have the members of the board stay, that would be great.